negotiations, right? Politics.
And we're out of time. So you.
Hey y'all, gravity, any day above ground limit. Hope you are having a fantastic start to your work week. It's Monday. You know what that means. We gotta have some talks. But before we do that, you might have heard, but you might not have heard, this beautiful soul has transitioned. That is Sissy Houston. And apparently she passed away either last night or this morning at the young age of 91. So Houston family, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. But today we're going to talk about podcasters and streamers. It's funny that when it comes to political discourse, nobody wants to listen to the black side. We don't know what we're talking about. Everything is, we joke too much. We're not serious. Now all of a sudden, everybody wants to act like us. I was listening to Sonny Johnson this morning on X, and I was listening to one of her broadcasts from Saturday, and she made a very poignant point. In off years, black folks still talk about politics, but y'all don't want to listen to them. I'm paraphrasing. On the off political years, they're still talking about fixing the community. Y'all are nowhere to be found. And y'all mean everybody. You're nowhere to be found. So, like she said, and I've been saying, after this election, there's going to be a great reset. We're going to see who's really about this. They got about 29 days, 28 days left. No, 29. They got about 29 days left to get all the grift coins they can get. Because come November 5th, boy, 11:59 is the last time you're going to see a lot of relevancy in these spaces. But particularly today, we're going to look at Byron Donalds on The Breakfast Club. Because a lot of people were sitting there touting it and saying he was great. We'll judge for ourselves. And we're also going to look at Kamala Harris going on this white podcast called Call Her Daddy. And people were praising it. We're going to judge it for ourselves. But before we get into that, let's see who's in the building. Wallow J, good afternoon. Jerry Bedford, good afternoon. Eddie Foster, good afternoon. Miss Nisi, good afternoon. Cosmo Fury, good afternoon. Key Prince, good afternoon. Sybil, good afternoon. Emperor Rex, good afternoon. For those who haven't said anything in the live chat or the comments, good afternoon. So, as we do, since we're going to be playing audio and or video, we have to do the customary house cleaning.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purpose, such as criticism, commenting, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, education, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern.
So we're going to look at Kamala first, because this is basically this is what everybody's talking about. Now, a little backstory on this podcast. This podcast used to be part of Barstool Sports, and we already know about Barstool Sports. That's that racist Dave Portnoy. But just to show you how lucrative white supremacy is with podcasts, which is media, one of the 9 areas of human activity. Happy belated to Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. She got a $60 million deal with Spotify. $60 million. All she talks about on this is she says she cuts through the BS with topics and guests, asking the burning questions you want the answers to. There will be laughter, there will be tears, there will be everything in between. Really? Okay. Spotify paid $60 million for this right here. We'll blow it up so y'all can see what she be talking about. Body positivity. Nothing wrong with that. BJ's. Hall passes and frat daddies. Is he the one? Cheating 101. Getting older, hotter, and wiser. Three old women and her talking about getting older, hotter, and wiser. Okay. This is what they paid $60 million for. Must be nice. But we're going to listen to her talk to Kamala. And we're going to see why everybody's going goo-goo and gaga over what Kamala said. Let's begin.
Daddy Gang, I went to Washington, D.C. to interview Vice President Kamala Harris. As you guys know, I do not usually discuss politics or have politicians on this show because I want Caller Daddy to be a place that everyone feels comfortable tuning in. Every single week, I talk about topics like mental health, relationships.
So we already, okay, I'm a little tongue-tied, so I'm going to loosen my tongue. Pause.
This is way over the edge. Like we it's not even over the edge. We died already.
This is beyond the event horizon. Like we about to hit the vortex.
Yeah, we about to hit the vortex.
Yeah.
So you don't talk about politics on this, but you got an opportunity to talk to the vice president. Now you want to. Why didn't you just decline it and keep your integrity? Oh, Kara, I was going to violate at the beginning, but I said, nah, let me not. I had a special opening. I had a special opening planned for today, but I said, nah, they throw me off of YouTube right before while it's playing. So I said, nah. But back to this. You don't talk politics, but you're fixing to talk about politics. This should be fun.
Relationships, sex, sexuality, trauma. Overall, my focus is women and the day-to-day issues that we face. So, I will be honest. I had been going back and forth with this decision for a while. To get involved or to not get involved.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day,
right.
I couldn't see a world in which one of the main conversations in this election is women, and I'm not a part of it. I am so aware I have a very mixed audience when it comes to politics. So please hear me when I say my goal today is not to change your political affiliation.
Not claim the right to that throne as long as there is still breath in Roman's lungs.
not to change your political position. So you know what you should have done, madam? You should have had both of them on. But she's gonna explain later why she didn't talk to Trump. Here we go. This, I'm telling you, family, when you hear what these two women were talking about, you're gonna understand what we've been saying for months. I promise you.
What I'm hoping is that you're able to listen to a conversation that isn't too different than the ones that we're having here every week. I was given 40 minutes with the Vice President of the United States. No topic was off limits. I prepared 7 different versions of this interview. Do I talk about the economy? Do I talk about border control? Do I talk about fracking? But then I realized you can hear about all of those issues on whichever news site you prefer. And let's be real, I'm probably not the one to be having the fracking conversation.
Well, why are you going to have wrong?
But the conversation I know I am qualified to have is the one surrounding women's bodies and how we are treated and valued in this country. I want to be so clear, since this isn't a one-sided conversation, we reached out to former President Donald Trump to come on the show. If he also wants to have a meaningful, in-depth conversation about women's rights in this country, then he is welcome on Call Her Daddy anytime. So, Daddy Gang, with all of that said, let's get into it.
The song sucks already. Okay. I'm trying to figure out how I can mute this. I really don't want to hear this. Okay, so it's down here. Anyway, how y'all doing today? I meant to ask that. God, that music is annoying, blood. Founding Father Alex Cooper. You hear her.
Vice President
Alex,
welcome to Call Her Daddy.
it is good to be with you.
Thank you so much for being here.
course.
We're in the final stretch of the election.
Yes.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. And I'm feeling nervous. You know, there's this old adage, there are only 2 ways to run, without an opponent or scared. So there you go. The only thing that matters is really just spending as much time as I can, as much time as I possibly can, meeting with people and talking with them about the stakes and their future.
How much money did you get paid for this? You had to fly to DC. How much money did they pay you for this?
Curious, like you don't do too many long form interviews. What made you want to do Call Her Daddy today?
Well, I think you and your listeners have really got this thing right, which is one of the best ways to communicate with people is to be real, you know, and to talk about the things that people really care about. What I love about what you do is that your voice in your show is really about your listeners. And I think especially now, this is a moment in the country and in life where people really want to know they're seen and heard and that they're part of a community, that they're not out there alone. And so I'm really glad to be with you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Family, this is what I mean when I say Kamami is she is a scumbag. If you really cared about women's bodies, the first place that you should have went is there's plenty of black channels and black podcasters and black TikTokers who have big followings so they could go live, or black Instagram people with big followings that you could go live on. You could have went over there since you black. I guarantee you, Kamami did not even know this podcast existed until somebody said, listen, We got this email from this podcast and we're looking at the numbers. They seem big. You probably should go on there. By the way, for those who are going to ask, I actually did email the Trump team as well, and they didn't get back to me. So me and her got that in common. The man don't want to come somewhere where he going to get challenged. And for those who think I'm lying, maybe one day after this election, I'll show you the many text messages I sent Dr. Darrell Scott to bring Trump on here and how he ignored me. But the simple fact that she's out here trying to co-sign this white woman's podcast, I want to know how much they paid her. Get to work. Your politician shouldn't be product placing.
Thank you for taking the time. I know you're a very busy person. I really like to get to know people on my show.
Okay.
Obviously, we are going to talk about all the issues that are going on, but I also want to get to know you as a person today. Is that okay with you?
Of course.
Okay, let's get into it. Growing up, my mother is a psychologist. Yes.
Oh, how is that?
Oh, it was great question.
Go to
Now in
laughing.
hindsight, like fabulous. When I
Yeah.
was in it, I was like, Mom, why do you know everything? Like, leave me alone. But
yeah.
one thing I really valued was she really emphasized the importance of mental health and
Yes.
talking about our feelings and
Yeah.
communicating. And
Yeah.
I know that you were primarily raised by your mother.
Yes.
Can you share with me, like, what values did your mom instill in you from a young age?
Well, similar to what you described about your mother, my mother definitely impressed upon us the importance of us being able to express how we were feeling. And a lot of it, I think, was also about her teaching us that we had agency. And so that things don't just happen to you. And so think about how you were feeling, not just as a way to dump, but also as a way to kind of figure out where you are in a moment, right? And center yourself. I mean, to your point, when I got older, like when I was in, I don't know, late teens, my 20s, if I came home with a problem, I'm telling you, every time if I came home with a problem, the first thing my mother would do is she would look at me like other mothers, I believe, were hugging their kids and like, oh, honey, what can I do? And my mother, the first thing, what did you do? But here's the thing that I realized. She was actually teaching me, think about where you had agency in that moment. And think about what you had the choice to do or not do. And like, don't let things just happen to you. And I realized that was a really powerful thing she was teaching, which is figure out how you can take charge of a moment.
Yeah.
You can't always. We don't have control of everything, obviously, but don't just let things happen to you without thinking about, okay, what can I do in this moment?
It's fun to hear you say that because
So you didn't tell this white woman that she taught you how to be a black woman? Remember, you said that. She taught us how to be black women. I think that would have been uniquely beautiful to bring that perspective, wink, wink, to this conversation. Interesting. Agency. Your mama taught you agency.
because these are themes that I've talked about on my show before of like,
Yeah.
we can sit here and dwell on something that happened to us, but then we can also say, yeah, but what could I have done in that situation to have autonomy over my life? People can do things to you, but you can only decide how you're going to react. That's all you have control
But that's
over, right?
exactly right. But that's exactly right. And in that way, you realize, don't let anyone take your power from you. You know, that's so important. I mean, the other thing my mother would say all the time, and I'm going to quote, is don't do anything half-assed.
Yeah. I'm curious when you're saying that about, you know, have.
Oh, so your mama said don't do nothing half-ass. So she told you put your full into it, right? Put your full into it, right? Did you do that with Willie?
agency over your own life
Yeah.
and don't let things just happen to you. Like, take control and take accountability. How have you put that into being the vice president of the United States?
A lot of my career was as a prosecutor. And so it was about really wanting to protect the most vulnerable and where they did not have the power. And it wasn't of their own choosing, but because they were the subject of abuse,
Sinful.
because they were the subject of an imbalance of power, right? And so a lot of the work that I've done has been about wanting to restore, to the extent I can play a role in that, their right to have justice, to have voice.
How does Cherie Peoples work with that? Them inmates you kept in there longer than their sentence. Oscar Grant's daughter and his fiance, how'd that work? Jacob Truelove. Just asking for friends here, you know. We got to ask these questions.
You know, right now, this fight for what we need to do around reproductive freedom is, I mean, could it be more at its core about just the basic right any individual of whatever gender has to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do? Or even voting.
Yeah.
Right? About saying, look, I know that there's cynicism. I know that there's a real feeling that, well, whatever gender has to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do.
I'm glad you said that. We got to have a conversation, Kamami.
Not claim the right to that throne as long as there is still breath in Roman's lungs.
Madam, I love how y'all are on there talking about body autonomy, but men 18 to 26 had to sign up for the draft. So much so that you automatically did it now. You didn't give them a choice. You didn't ask them to vote on it. You didn't put it on referendums. None of that. You just snuck it in the defense bill. You're so for body autonomy, you guys are still in Congress right now debating if you should put women in selective service, which means they would have to sign up. And if there was a draft, they get to get drafted. Body autonomy. You made a whole bunch of people. You told people, hey, you got to go get the Belle Biv DeVoe. Or you instructed their employers not to hire you back or fire you. Would you like me and you to go meet up in Houston and we go talk to them doctors one time? And them former nurses. Would you like to do that? Would you like to go to New York City and all them former cops who got thrown off the force and had to go sue to get their jobs back and back pay? Would you like to go talk to them? All the countless hourly workers who lost their jobs because when everything opened back up, the employees say you have to have this or at least get it and weren't taking exceptions. You were the same one who said, I'm not taking Donald Trump's Belle Biv DeVoe because he rolled it out so quick. And then all of a sudden, when y'all won, all of a sudden now you got to go take it. By the way, you're still making people take it to work in the government. But you want to talk about body autonomy. Wonderful. We already know where this is going. Get to work.
Or even voting.
Yeah.
Right? About saying, look, I know that there's cynicism. I know that there's a real feeling that, well, what does it matter? Does my voice matter? But a lot of my push to kind of hopefully convince people that they should vote is because you should never let anybody take your power from you. And voting is one of the ways that you use your voice to determine who your government will be and what your future will be by your government.
You've already made history. You are the first female vice president.
Yeah.
You could very well become the next president of the United States. What do you think your mom would say?
Well, okay, so let me just tell you what my mother did say when I was running for attorney general. Okay, so there'd never been a woman attorney general California. And the race was so tight. I mean, fast forward to the end on election night, my opponent declared his victory. By the way, I won. Okay, but let's go back. Let's go backward. So I was when I was first running, and it was when my mother was very sick with cancer, and she ultimately passed away. But I would take her to the hospital, and I spent a lot of time with her and took care of her. So one day we're at the hospital, and she's in the bed, and she was at this phase of her illness where she was really tired, and so I'm sitting next to her, and she had her face turned in the other direction. She was kind of half sleeping. And then she leaned over to me and she said, "What's going on with the race?" And then she leaned back over, and I said, "Well, mommy, they said they're going to kick my ass." At which point my mother turned her head, looked at me, and had the biggest smile. Had the biggest smile ever. That was my mother.
Yeah, back to this stupid music. All right. Okay, so this is, I guess, part one. Who believes this crap she's talking? I don't know, family. I really don't know. Like, why she over there laughing? She's so unserious. This is what y'all voting for. All right. I don't know. I'll let y'all sound off. Y'all tell me. Y'all feeling what she's saying, or is she a BS artist? Hmm. I'm gonna give y'all. Hmm. Let's see. What are y'all saying? All right. Let's see. All right. I see. Here's how does a research nutritionist like Kamala's mom die from preventable cancer? Nowadays, these nutritionists are the most unhealthy people ever. Oh, damn. Okay. Kira said that she gets no quarter. Torian said BS artist to the highest order. Of course, she's a BS artist. She's a lawyer and AG formerly. Harpo, who is this woman? Hello, mamas too. Coochie cackler. Now, Miss Nisi, that's disrespectful. You cannot be disrespectful to Kamala Harris. Do not be disrespectful. Yes. What am I saying? Be disrespectful all you want. Please. Something is wrong with this woman. She out here lying. I ain't gonna hold you. It's gotta suck. Like trying to be a fan of hers. Because yeah, it's anybody but Trump. But then you gotta also understand that you've got to take her at face value on everything. You got to fact check. Her people won't even fact check her. Now they fact checking her. It's hilarious. Biden threw her under the bus the other day. That was great. I ain't never seen nothing like that before. Crazy. That's crazy. I don't know. But let's continue. I'm sure she's gonna say some more witty stuff. I can hear Miss Nisi too. Miss Nisi, calm down. Don't interfere with the sound of the broadcast, because then they're gonna hear you, and then they're gonna be like, yo, I can't listen to this. But anyway, let's go. God, this music sucks.
I think, as women, we have to work 10 times harder. We got to be smarter.
Here we
gotta play the
go.
game to even get our foot in the door sometimes.
Say
When you
what?
tell the daddy gang,
Yeah.
when people tell you no, when
How do y'all have
people
to work
look at
10
you
times
and
harder?
doubt you,
Hmm.
Come
what does
on,
that
don't do
ignite
this.
in you?
So I've been told that many times.
Oh, jeez.
And through the course of my career, I've been told, at one point, you're too young. I've been told, oh, nobody like you has ever done that before. Oh, they're not ready for you. Oh, and this is the one that kills me. Oh, it's going to be a lot of hard work, right? As though we don't like hard work. And here's
Only
my
when you're on
response.
top.
I don't hear no. I don't hear no. And I urge all the daddy gang,
Oh, Lord.
don't hear no. Just don't hear it.
That's called, never mind. Fellas and ladies, if someone says no, no means no. Whether it's on the street or in the bedroom, no means no. You get in trouble if you bypass no. I'm just letting y'all know. I know y'all know, but I gotta let the people who don't know, because she don't know. And this white woman don't know.
Not claim the right to that throne.
I'm sure, Roman. I'm sure that I know that. This woman's pissing me off. I'm starting to get upset. And y'all know when I get upset, I'm going to say something out of line. Now I want to get formalization on this.
Are your feelings hurt?
Her words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Throughout this election, your identity has been called into question
Ooh.
many times. Your opponent has called you crazy, weak, fake, and dumb. How does that affect you?
I think it's really important not to let other people define you.
You a damn lie.
And usually
You a damn lie, because if you didn't want people to define you, you never would have came outside and said what you were. Oops. You would have said, I'm Kamala Harris. You should have taken the Roland Martin route. You should have said, I'm a man. Well, you're a woman, a Hindu / Christian / Jewish, because of your husband, woman of color. You crossed off all the boxes. Nobody would ever question you. You stuck on that and saying you was black. And your mother was Indian.
those people who will attempt to do it don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about before your career in Washington.
Yes.
You mentioned you worked as a prosecutor specializing in sexual assault
Yeah.
cases.
Mhm.
And this is something, obviously, I touch on my show. I have so many women that listen, and
Yeah.
I want to talk to you because I know you had a personal connection as to
Right.
why you really sought that out. Can you talk about what led you to taking
Yeah.
on that career?
So when I was in high school,
Mhm.
my best friend, her name is Wanda, I learned was being sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And, I knew something was going on because she didn't want to go home. She just seemed sad. And so she told me, and I immediately said, you have to come and stay with us. I called my mother, who was at work. Yes, she has to come stay with us. And she did. And I just, it upset me so that someone where they should feel safe and protected were being so horribly abused and violated, right? And anyway, I decided at a young age I wanted to do the work of protecting vulnerable people. I mean, look, I'm the eldest of 2 daughters. I was raised with my mother saying, since practically the day my sister was born, look out for your sisters. So maybe it started when I was 2. But Wanda and her experience really convinced me and made me realize how this can happen and what we need to do to stand against it.
Can you, because again, like I have women write in being like, I don't know who to tell. I'm DMing you and I'm telling you because the shame and the terror and the where do I go from here? And most of the time it is the people that are closest to them that are doing this. Like,
it is.
What feelings do you have? And like, what is the course of action in that moment that you take?
So the first thing that I would say to anyone going through it is tell someone that you trust. Don't quietly suffer.
Not to go to the cops. Okay. This is her opinion. She's a lawyer. She's allowed.
You have done nothing wrong. You have done nothing wrong, and don't let anyone convince you you have. Often the abuser will tell her that if she tells, then something worse will happen. And that is usually wrong. And know that there are people that want you to be safe and will want to protect you, but don't silently suffer. And know that you have a right to live in a place where you feel safe and are actually safe.
Unfortunately, I know that so many women can relate to what we're talking about. 1 in 3 women has experienced some form of sexual abuse in their life.
That's exactly right.
And I feel like when we say that, that number can get lost because it's like 1 in 3 women, like, you know, this is happening. This is real. This is happening right now.
But Alex, let me just say this also. Thank you for talking about it. Because part of the issue is that people don't talk about it.
That'd have been so gangster if she would have asked that question. Your husband did that to his ex-girlfriend. Do you believe that's a lie? That would have been gangster.
And I don't mean the survivors of it. I mean, nobody does. And the more that we let anything exist in the shadows, the more likely it is that people are suffering and suffering silently. And we need to talk about it. We have to talk about it. Child sexual assault is something that affects far more people than the public discourse about it acknowledges. And the more we talk about it, the more we will address it and deal with it, the more we will be equipped to deal with it, be it in terms of schools, in terms of the society at large, right? And to not stigmatize it.
I agree. I think like the power that we have is through our voice over here, like me trying to have a conversation any chance I can get. The amount of times I have conversations with women, and then I have thousands of women reaching out being like, oh my God, I just remembered something from watching this podcast episode and it brought back the trauma, but now I know I need to get help. Like, years ago, this wasn't even a conversation.
But see, and that's exactly right. And so when I say stigmatize it, what I mean is stigmatize the survivor.
Yeah.
We still have so far to go on the issue of child sexual assault. Just like in a previous time, the issue of domestic violence. People didn't talk about domestic violence. And part of it was.
All right, fine. You know what? I'm just going to say it. This fraud, F-R-A-U-D, this fraud, she seems so passionate about child abuse and CST, that's child, ST. Why didn't she make that her vice president agenda? She made her vice president agenda Black maternal mortality. And she's barely talked about it in 3.5 years. But the last 1.5 years, she's been talking about this. At least when Michelle Obama did the fraud nutrition campaign, at least she went to schools. At least she was doing them fraud exercises. She put out that fraud nutrition map. At least she went above and beyond. Melania went above and beyond hers. This fraud ain't even, I know it's a first lady agenda, but if she's so passionate, why her or the husband didn't do that? Since she's Kamala. You know how many, they would still be playing that advert right now. You're like, even though with someone without children of their own, I feel like I'm a children of everybody's child. I feel like I'm a mother of everybody's child in this country. And don't worry, if you are the victim of that as a young kid, Kamala got you. They'd still be playing that to this day. Good or bad. But here we are. All right. Back to the show. Because this right here is a show. You're listening to a broadcast of me playing this show.
Get to work! This really warped idea that, well, what happens in the home is none of our business. But if it happened on the street, it would be our business if we witnessed it on the street. And so the point being that abuse of anyone is something we should all take seriously, as opposed to saying it's not our business. It's something that we have to agree should not happen, and whatever resources and whatever attention we can put into reducing the likelihood that it happens is worthwhile.
How do we make this country safer for women?
That's a big question. There's a lot to unpack there. I mean, one of the things, for example, on domestic violence that I can tell you is this. When a woman, and in particular, if she has children, if she is economically reliant on her abuser, she's less likely to leave.
Does that count for the lesbians? Oh, no. Oh, no. Here they come. Here they come.
Oh, I don't like saying that. I don't like saying that. Oof.
Can we have a frank conversation today? Does that include females and they studs? Does this include them? Because I know how y'all like to make men the boogeyman, but a lot of women out here slapping other women around. Can we have a conversation? Just asking for friends here. Because we looking out for the females too. They shouldn't be slapped up in any case. No gender and or race should be slapping women around. But I bet you they're not going to go down that road. I bet you they won't.
Because most women will endure whatever personal physical pain they must in order to make sure their kids have a roof over their head or food. So one of the ways that we know that women are able to walk away from abuse, and there are many layers to her being able to do that, but one of them is, does she have the economic freedom to be able to do that? Right? So one of the ways that we know we can uplift the ability of women to have choices is uplift the ability of women to have economic health and well-being.
I'm going to get more into that later, but about, how we can make that possible. But I do want to reference something I saw was at a rally in Pennsylvania. Former President Trump recently told women, "You will be protected and I will be your protector." What do you make of that?
So he who, when he was president, hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would...
How the fuck did he hand select them? Okay, let's just say that's true. He hand selected them. Y'all act like, see, when you say things like this, madam, you think that at a wave of a hand that the president can just pick whoever they want to go to the Supreme Court. They still had to go get nominated and they still had to go through the process, correct? So by and large, since y'all want to play this game with us, Democrats, y'all the one that put them in there. Are we gonna talk? All right, I'm gonna let y'all breathe on that. But before we do that, Miss Niecy, thank you for the $5 super chat. You said, "Don't curse KG, I'll do it myself." I appreciate that, and I appreciate the blessing. And you get this here. Kamala Harris, come here. Let me holler at you. You sat in Congress while the nominee for the Supreme Court, the 1, 2, 3 that he got in, y'all watched them come in, and you Senate Democrats sat there and tried to not get them confirmed, and they ended up getting confirmed. So by and large, the problems that we're having in this country that the Supreme Court ain't fixing and everything that's been falling is your fault. What do you say to that? Oh, so all you can do is laugh. Say less. Thank you, madam. Continue telling us more of this BS. Because that's what you're known for, BS. There was a joke there. I'm going to leave it alone.
Would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did just as he intended. And there are now 20 states with Trump abortion bans, including bans that make no exception for rape or incest, which we just discussed, which means that you're telling a survivor of a crime, of a violation to their body, they don't have a right to make a decision about what happens to their body next.
That's not what he said, but you're going to tell that lie, but okay.
Which is immoral. So this is the
She's
same
talking
guy
about morality
that is now
now.
saying that. This is the same guy who said that women should be punished for having abortions.
Who
This
said
is
that?
the same guy who uses the kind of language he does to describe women. So
You mean, okay, fine. He said what he said about women. He a man. We expect the man to say that. You were the same person who said that when they saw you on Willie Brown and what about his wife? You said I didn't care. You didn't have enough respect for that woman to not hold that man's hand in the room, even though the whole room knew you two were doing it in the office. But you want to sit up here and talk about morality. Get some.
yeah, there you go.
I do want to focus on abortion for a moment because 2 years ago, Roe v. Wade was overturned and women lost their constitutional right to an abortion. I put out an episode about it. I flew to North Carolina. I went to a preferred women's health center. I met with women that were getting screamed at and chanted at and called baby killers. And it was a bus ticket so I can get out of this abortion desert that I live in the South so I can get to a state. I was raised Catholic and abortion is a sin. And when I put out that episode, I had a lot of women reach out to me saying like, wow, I live in the South and I never thought about it that way. Like maybe I am pro-choice because
time.
Okay, I'm bored. But yeah, that was Command Me on there. I'm bored now. They not getting to nothing. Oh, it was a newspaper back in the day. You can go look it up. It's still there. Let me see if I can pull it up real fast before we get to this Byron Donalds piece. Let me see if I can find it. This is what was she talking about? She didn't say nothing. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. But, all right, I'm gonna go look for that while I think I found it, but I don't want to slow down the thing a little bit. So we're gonna go over now to since the Breakfast Club want to screw with me with the iHeartRadio BS. We're gonna do this. We're gonna play it from here. We got to load it up now. They say he was on there for about an hour. So, by the way, Angela Rye was there too. So I didn't want to scare y'all with her voice just popping in for no reason. So let's get it.
The FAMU too, HBCU.
FAMU.
There you go. All right.
96.99.
Well, welcome,
you
brother.
from Brooklyn?
Yeah, Crown Heights, Brooklyn.
Can't you tell us the meaning of the way he speaks? I'm like, he don't sound like nothing but a New Yorker.
Park Place, Troy, and Schenectady, man.
The way he walked in, I was like, he's New Yorker. But welcome, brother.
So how'd you become well, I guess because, in New York is considered such a liberal place. How did you become a conservative?
Oh, man. Politics came late for me in life.
You started as a Democrat, right?
Yeah, I was a registered Democrat. Didn't really care about politics. I think a lot of people like that in the country.
So you didn't care about politics? Never mind.
Career was finance. So I graduated with a degree of finance marketing from Florida State. I had too much fun at FAMU, so I had to transfer.
Okay.
So I transferred to FSU, got my degree there, started in my career, worked in banking, worked in insurance. And then through the financial collapse of 2008, my company had international clients. And they were saying, we need to get information for our clients so we can keep the investment going. So I started doing the research because I had worked in banking for 5 years. And when I did the research, one of the last things I did was watch the House Financial Services Committee in Congress. First time I ever watched a congressional committee. And I watched it, and really for me, it was that the members didn't know what they were talking about. I was like, who are these people? I was 29 at the time, 29, 30. And I'm thinking, who are these guys? They don't know what they're talking about. A lot of stuff doesn't make sense. And so that's really what started having me starting to think about politics. And, the journey kind of went from there. But I got to tell y'all both, my son, he's sitting at home, my son Mason, and he's a huge fan.
Oh,
so he listens all the time. So I got to give a shout to Mason.
Salute to Mason. Thank you, Mason.
Congressman, you just mentioned that you attended FAMU, but graduated from Florida State. We know that Donald Trump committed $255 million annually to HBCUs, while the Biden administration invested more than $16 billion since fiscal year 2021 to HBCUs, averaging more than $4 billion annually. They also challenged states through the Department of Education, that same department that Project 2025 wants to abolish, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture to close a $12 billion gap between funding of land grant institutions that are traditionally white institutions and historically Black colleges. FAMU is, of course, one of those schools, as you know. The letter to Governor DeSantis said in the last 30 years alone, an additional over $1.9 billion would have been available for FAMU had this disparity not existed. What obligation does Florida have to properly fund FAMU to ensure rattlers like yourself are properly educated with the resources they deserve?
Well, look, thank you for the question. I think that the disparities you talk about between some of the, I guess probably more prolific universities in our state, like UF and FSU versus FAMU, and even from some of the younger universities like UWF, UNF, etc., is something that when I was in the state legislature, we actually talked a lot about. My last year in Tallahassee, there was a project for the Student Services Building. It was about a $25 million project. Myself and members on the Democrat side of the aisle, we worked with the leadership in Tallahassee and then Governor DeSantis to make sure that FAMU got the money they needed to build that project out completely. And so that's something specifically I worked on. I think going forward, that is something we got to definitely address. I totally agree with that. I think there's two issues, though, in higher education we got to also address. We do have a problem with the unaffordability of college. And a part of the reason why it is a problem is because so much money is poured into universities. And we have told so many kids in the United States that the only way to be successful is to go to college. I'm from the generation. I don't want to talk about your age, Angela. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to call you 32 years old and I'm going to walk away.
I'm 44. I'll be 45 next month. It's all
Nah,
good.
32 is way better. But anyway, you know
No,
what
it's
I'm saying?
not.
I'm just
Oh my God. Was that him trying to be charming? All right.
all right. It's all right. It's all right. Well, I think the point is that we have to start telling, young people that there's multiple ways to be successful. When you have a situation coming from high school where all your successes can only be found with a 4-year degree, what you also end up doing is you put upward pressure on the cost of college. But you're getting a lot of people coming out of college who have a degree that doesn't have economic value when there are multiple pathways for success in the United States. So funding that is on par through all universities is important. I do agree. But we also have to address the realities that's pushing every high school student into college with the false reality that a college degree is going to make you successful. It's not going to help them for success long term because they're going to be burdened with the cost of that degree, go into the real world and then realize, hold on, wait a minute. I can't get a job with the degree I have. Not all degrees are the same. I believe personally, an accounting degree, a finance degree like I have, an engineering degree, a law degree, that has more economic value overall in the economy than a marketing degree, which I also have, or a communications degree, or a psychology degree, or a philosophy degree, etc. If you can get into psychology and make that work for yourself. So I think there's multiple layers to college education that we need to address.
Let me ask you a question, right?
Yeah.
So, I want to go back a little bit. So you were arrested before for marijuana.
Yeah.
You're arrested for bank fraud.
Yeah.
You're also of Caribbean descent.
Yeah.
Jamaican.
Yeah.
When you hear Donald Trump talk about some of the other brothers that were arrested and taking out that full ad in the paper, or you hear them talking about Haitian people eating dogs and cats, you still stand by them and what they believe, and if you do, why?
Well, a couple things.
Because you were
First,
given a second chance, because
Oh, yeah.
like we should have, like you should have been, but
Yeah.
why do you still stand by them if you do?
Well, I think you also got to acknowledge that when he was president, he also did the First Step Act, which undid a lot of the issues with the '94 crime bill that a lot of politicians, including the current president, were for. He undid that when he was president of the United States. I think second chances are important in society. I think everybody's afforded them. You know what happened with the Central Park Five? I was probably 6th, 7th grade, 8th grade when that was going down in New York.
Yep.
I can't really speak to that, but what I also
It was all over the paper.
I know it was everywhere. You couldn't escape
we
it.
were around
It was,
the
it
same
was-
age, so we seen it everywhere.
You couldn't
in New
escape
York.
it.
Mhm.
But what I would also add is that in 2000, Donald Trump was a member of the Reform Party. Most people don't talk about this. He was a member of the Reform Party. When David Duke joined the Reform Party, he left. And he famously said, I can't be associated with that party because they let David Duke come in. That man is a Klansman. When he bought Mar-a-Lago, he desegregated Mar-a-Lago. But at the time when he bought it, only white people were allowed in Mar-a-Lago. He desegregated that, allowed Black people and Jewish people to be a part of Mar-a-Lago. So I think that when you start going down the road of the past, you have to take a man in his totality. I know the man today. And then when you couple that with the economic policies, the energy policies, the foreign policy, we have to acknowledge the reality that in the world today, the United States is in the midst of two conflicts, not directly, but indirectly. We just sent troops over into the Middle East because of the growing conflict with our ally Israel having to essentially secure its sovereignty and its protection from Hezbollah and Hamas. Well, when Donald Trump was president, we didn't have to do any of that. So I acknowledge the stuff that you're talking about that happened in the past, but I think you have to take a man on the full record. And when he was president, he did release a lot of Black people from prison. He did that. He did try to reform some of the criminal justice system. He did that as well. And so that work is just as important as something that he might have said back during the Central Park Five.
I acknowledge the First Step Act, but when you said he undid the '94 crime bill, what do you mean?
What I mean is that the reforms in the First Step Act undid in part some of the issues in the '94 crime bill. Not totally. Not totally. It dealt with the sentencing of those people who either had their sentences reduced or were released, and their convictions were in line with the '94 crime bill and the way criminal statutes were written under that piece of legislation.
And his
That's what I'm
thoughts
saying.
on the whole
Hold
Haitians
on.
eating.
Go ahead. Andrew, what you say?
Oh, what's up, man?
On the same point, you talked about taking the man in his totality.
Yeah.
So one of those things in his totality is what happened on January 6th, which was your first term in Congress.
Yeah.
Do you think he should be held accountable? Donald Trump should be held accountable for his role in the January 6th insurrection?
Well, I mean, listen, first of all, I would tell you that everybody's responsible for their own actions. Just like I'm not going to blame friends or blame anybody else for the things I've done wrong in my life, I'm not going to put that on him. I'm not going to run around and blame Bernie Sanders for the fact that Steve Scalise was shot. Because if you go back and look at when Steve Scalise, who's the current leader in the House of Representatives, who almost died at a congressional baseball practice. Hold on, I'm explaining this. So I'm going to come back to January 6th.
Yeah, please do.
No, I will, of course. The shooter that almost killed Steve Scalise, the Republican leader, he said vehemently that the reason why he went to the congressional baseball practice of Republicans to shoot it up was because he felt that Republicans were going to take away health care. And what he had heard in his rhetoric was that was dangerous, and these Republicans had to be stopped. So I'm going to translate that to January 6th. The shooter is the one that perpetrated that crime. I'm not going to put that on Bernie Sanders, who he cited for the rhetoric around why he went to the congressional baseball practice. That's a shooter that almost killed Steve Scalise. Let me translate. Donald Trump authorized 10,000 National Guard troops. I'm on the oversight committee. He actually authorized 10,000 troops on January 4th, 2 days before January 6th, obviously. So if you're going to say that you incited an insurrection, then how are you also going to authorize 10,000 National Guard troops to be at the Capitol? Are you inciting or are you not? Because the record is he authorized the troops. Nancy Pelosi and Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., did not want the troops at the Capitol. Muriel Bowser signed a letter on January 5th wanting the National Guard troops to be on traffic duty in D.C. Now, here's the funny thing about January 5th, 2021, is that nobody was in D.C. because D.C.'s rules around COVID-19 had the entire city shut down. The streets were empty during this time. So the National Guard that was authorized by Donald Trump were on traffic duty when there was no traffic.
You a damn fuck. How this man lying? The city was shut down. This is what he just said. The city was shut down. The city was shut down.
Not claim the right to that throne as long as.
Negro, I was there that night. The city was very much alive. I don't know what you're talking about, sir. How does he lie like this? Where is Torian? Bruh, Torian, I was on you. I was staying on. I stayed with my friend, with Rose out there. She was out like 10 minutes away from the city. We went in the city. K Street was popping. All the wing places were jumping. They were. We passed by. I passed by Georgetown on my way there. People were running into restaurants. What is he talking about? I saw MAGA hats walking on what was that? On New York Avenue. What is he talking about? And they just get on there and lie. Damn. Now you see why they don't want me to talk to none of these politicians. All right. It was shut down, but MAGA got in. Understand what you're hearing from this man. DC was shut down, right? This is what he said. But somehow MAGA kept putting up videos of them on their way to DC. They were flying to a city that was shut down. Ashley Babbitt, pre-lead in the face, flew from California to DC. Folk came in from Alaska, family. Alaska. I drove into a city 4 hours away that was shut down. Okay, Byron. When you mean shut down, do you mean that they were doing the same thing that New York was doing? Only 25% capacity at the restaurants? 6 feet distancing Is that what you're talking about when you say shut down? Because there were still traffic jams in DC. Yes, there were. But all right, the city was shut down. You got it, sir.
Is a living, breathing insult to my existence.
When they could have been at the Capitol. That's the history of January 6th.
You a
So your
damn
question
lie.
is, well, did he incite a riot? Well, I never seen somebody
No,
incite
what
a
I
riot.
what I
But
what I
Angela,
said,
hold on,
and
Angela,
I
I'm gonna
just
make,
because I
Angela,
know
I don't want to cut you
know
off. I'm gonna make
through-
one point. I'm gonna make one point. I don't want to cut
No,
you
no,
off.
no. But I want to make sure that you're addressing the right point because I actually did not use that language. What I asked you was, should Donald Trump be held accountable for his role in January 6th? And so what I think is important is to compare this to Steve Scalise being shot after someone wanted health care versus the rhetoric, the very dangerous rhetoric that Donald Trump spouted on January 6th, where more than 1,200 people have been charged in nearly all 50 states for their role, and 140 police officers were assaulted. The same police officers that your party has said they want qualified immunity for, and Donald Trump, because we're looking at the totality of the person, has said they should have full immunity, right? And when you think about the number of police officers who would get full immunity for their role in killing and being violent with people in our community like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, Freddie Gray, Philando Castile, Charlene Lyles, Manny Ellis. Is that really the kind of rhetoric that you want to push, especially at the Breakfast Club?
Well, hold on a second, Angela, because you brought in like 4 different topics now. You want to talk
No,
about
I
Trump?
didn't. What I brought in was January 6th responsibility, police accountability, and I used examples of why they should be held accountable. But you talked about how fantastic he was with the crime bill, which I object, but I'll let you finish your point.
Okay.
You also have not acknowledged the fact that this man was vehemently opposed to the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And you all are supposed to be the party that protects law enforcement, where over 150 police officers were assaulted that day on January 6th because of Donald Trump's rhetoric.
So let me respond to a couple things. Number one, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. There were actually 2 bills that were moving through the United States Senate that year. There was the George Floyd Policing Act that you discussed, and there was the bill that was written by Senator Tim Scott. They were both moving, moving through the Senate, right? The Tim Scott bill is the one that could have got signed into law. It was essentially a mirror image of the George Floyd bill, except for qualified immunity. The difference between those 2 bills, and Angela, you just acknowledged it, the only difference between those 2 bills was qualified immunity. The issue with qualified immunity is very simple. If you remove qualified immunity from policing, you're going to have less officers on the street. Police officers make what? $70, $80, $90,000 a year. They have most law enforcement has about 40 million or more encounters.
Where are these cops making this money? $70. You must not be talking about the inner cities. All right. I mean, let me know. 70, 80,000? Well, NYPD, let's look this. He might be right, family. Let's not do that. He might be right. NYPD salary. Officer salary. Let's see what they making this year for being on the street. Okay, so starting salary is 58,580. I'm making that. Okay. That's NYPD. Let's see Chicago. It says here 54,672. They could get to 82 after a year and a half. Okay. Let's see. LAPD. How much they start? After graduating and becoming a full-time police officer, your salary raises to 97,300 per year. Okay. So this one says from last year was 74. Okay, so he might be right with LAPD. Let's check his state. Let's check Orlando. They started 68 plus incentives. So he's assuming this is everywhere. Good to know. But these are the same cops. If they're making all this money, they're over there talking about somehow they need to go do all this overtime and these extra side gigs. But they make it 6 figures, but they're doing side gigs. But okay.
I'm telling you this right now because I've talked with law enforcement officers all across the country.
Listen
Not
to
the
him.
chiefs, the officers. They will not be working these communities. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm from Crown Heights, Brooklyn. I may not have always loved having the police in my neighborhood, and that's just a thing from a kid. I may not have always loved it, but when I needed them, they were there. And a lot of our officers today, they're black, they're Hispanic, they're white. So removing qualified immunity only lowers the number of officers in communities.
Oh, yeah. The cops were there when they arrested you for distribution, didn't they? They were there for you, weren't they? Uh-huh. Who mans is this? Boy, I tell you, MAGA could pick him, boy. Between him, ABL, Tatum Tots, Conservative Perspective, the Cartier Coons, the Siamese Coons, they could pick them, boy. Lord, that's the black male representation coming out of MAGA. Oh, wow. Y'all platformed a dude who really went to the South and told them about Jim Crow and reparations. He arguing against stuff that's going to help black folks. And y'all platformed him. Now he up here saying, oh, if they don't have qualified immunity, they not going to police those communities. Oh, so it's only the black community going to get affected. Ah, because they don't commit no traffic stops in nice neighborhoods, right? They don't be pulling over them drunk rich people, right? They don't do that. Oh. They not going to these malls and smacking people around, right? They not doing that. No, they not doing that, right? Okay, Byron, let's play the game. Without qualified immunity, you know how much crime them cops would be doing? Huh? Oh, you think qualified immunity just mean that they could just sue them civilly? No, that mean them cops will really be like the 70s when they were taking payoffs. Yeah. What's to stop a whole bunch of cops from shaking down the neighborhood? What the citizens gonna do? But all right, you're gonna tell us. Let's go back, because I'm sure you got more. You're gonna regale us with all this wit that you learned in the Florida legislature and in Capitol Hill, right?
What we're seeing right now is a movement of policing from states where they're not really respecting law enforcement to states where they do, or there's not that moral support for law enforcement. I was in my district yesterday. I was talking with an officer who's from Philadelphia. He was a Philadelphia officer. He now is a Fort Myers officer.
Ooh, so he left. Keep going.
I asked him, I was like, well, why'd you make the move? He goes, because up there was no support for me as an officer for what I love to do, which is serve my community. So I said, enough is enough. I'm gonna move. He went to Florida. My sheriff in Florida, he's like, I have more applications coming from officers who are in states or in localities where they're not getting the moral support or whatever they need to continue to do their job day in, day out. And so they're leaving. Well, who does that hurt? That hurts. That hurt. Who does that really hurt though, Charlemagne?
Yeah,
because
but
if you
I'm
don't
just
have
trying-
officers if you don't have officers on the streets or officers,
So I just looked up both of those salaries real quick. He really left for $2,000. And with the no state tax down there, okay, it might rise to about $5,000. He left for about $5,000. So you left the community that you know for the community you don't. But now, if they get rid of qualified immunity, then what? I'm sorry, if they do give them full immunity from prosecution, now what? If they don't give it to him, what, he gonna quit?
in urban areas, who's really left in that lurch?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what does qualified immunity have to do with having less police officers?
Because
why would that?
Because the economic incentive of qualified immunity means that your personal assets aren't gone after if something goes wrong. So
when it should be. When it should be. That's what you signed up for, sir. Oh, I get it. So if I open up a business and I hurt somebody with my product, they shouldn't be able to sue me? I think business owners would like that. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Yeah, did you know you could sue firefighters if one of your people die? Yeah. Wrongful death. Yeah. So instead of the city paying, that cop pays. I think that would be a nice little trade-off. I'm just saying. We've seen for years, especially New York City, pay out 9 figures every year because of them cops. And then y'all be the same ones getting mad when the inmate come outside and they getting like millions of dollars. Or you say one of these quote unquote criminals get hit with hot lead and then they get a couple $1 million, you be pissed off. Why did you do the crime? Okay. I think it would be better if they went after the cops now, wouldn't it? Maybe them judges, they'll show us on the law side if they really together. Maybe it would incentivize them to know the law more and stop trying to trick people into cases. Which, by the way, MAGA has said on many occasions that they're okay with that until it happens to them. But continue, Byron. Continue carrying the water for MAGA.
You're in business. Do you get involved in a project or a deal that leaves you massively exposed financially? You may, depending on your passion for that project, but then you also sit back and think, now, wait a minute, if something goes wrong, I'm going to be held massively liable.
Yes! When we're saying something goes wrong, we're talking about people getting violently.
Yeah. Yes. If I pay somebody to make me a house and the house collapses on me, I'm suing them. Yes. What is he talking about? Oh my God. Sir, I work in food service. If I make a dish and somebody dies, they can come after me. You know why? Because I was trained to know how food is supposed to be cooked. Cops are trained to uphold that's what they tell you. They're trained to uphold the law, even though that's not the according to the Supreme Court, that's not what their job is. They're not for the individual citizen. They're to uphold the public trust and protect businesses. But okay, we'll go by y'all's definition. They're there for the to uphold and protect the law and protect the citizens. Even though that's not their tenant, but okay. They should be on the hook especially if they're out there shooting indiscriminately, going after people, and they hit somebody that wasn't even involved. Yes, they should. That cop that deleted Philando Castile, yeah, he should have been sued civilly, and I think he was. But y'all were real quiet about that. Oh, but now Chauvin come outside and do what he do. Y'all would be upset if George Floyd widow made it public that she was going to sue, right? She was going to sue him directly. And I think, if somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she did. But I know she got 27 million from the city. And y'all got mad. But if it was one of them cops that did that to you, y'all be the first ones talking to a lawyer. As soon as the lawyer pick up the phone and say, yeah, I heard about your case. Yeah, let's go after that cop. You be like, okay. Ain't there one of y'all gonna say, I'm not doing that.
Hurt or killed.
Yeah, clearly.
And I named people that you brushed over.
But it's clear when somebody
brushing over
clearly
that.
violates a constitutional right.
And when you violate a constitutional right, qualified immunity doesn't apply to you. And that's what I'm talking about. It does not. And Angela, don't do that. It does not.
I thought that was the definition. I thought that was the definition.
No, it does not.
I thought that was the definition.
No,
of
it does not.
immunity.
If you carry yourself outside of the confines of your training and the protocols of that department, qualified immunity doesn't apply to you. It does
That's not true.
That is very true. That is very
how
true.
does he lie? They don't sue the cop individually. They sue the department. They can name him in there. They more times than not, they do not go after that cop by himself. They tell you that's a civil matter, go after that. But most times the payout from the city or the state is more than them going to civil, go get it. And Byron knows what they're saying. They're saying enough of putting the burden on the city. Put the burden on that individual cop. And he knows that's what they're asking him. But they go MAGA try and play back the blue. Even though they were the same folk who say them folk up there at the Capitol Police were doing too much. Family, if you never needed another example of taking both sides of the argument, there you go. Capitol Police wrong, but still give qualified immunity to them street cops.
Patently
that
false.
is no, it's patently true, and we need to make sure we have that accurate. We cannot make that statement because you have a lot of officers out here who do their job with honor and dignity and respect for the people.
Then they wouldn't have a problem with that.
Okay, listen, qualified immunity is a legal doctrine that protects government officials from civil lawsuits when they perform their jobs unless they clearly violate a constitutional right.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And what is a violation of that right is when they're outside the norms of their training and the protocols of that department or that agent.
But then y'all play games with it. That's the other part that y'all not understanding. They like to pick and choose which part of the law they want to use in that case. So if six cops, just like we just saw with Tyree Nichols, we just saw it. They clearly deleted that man. They clearly was the reason why he passed away. All they said was you violated that man's civil rights. They're gonna be sitting in jail for 20 years. How the family gonna get recourse? They should be able to sue them civilly while they're still on trial. They should have. That's what they're talking about, Byron. In the off chance, they'll throw them cops off the force, right? But the city still got to pay. That cop go away scot-free. That cop goes somewhere else. That's why people say if you're going to get rid of qualified immunity, then they should have insurance on them that if they do something like that, no insurance company carry them, it's going to be harder for them to get a job somewhere else. But y'all don't want to talk about that. You talking about the law when you've clearly seen the law be interpreted by depending on who's sitting at that table, who's sitting on that bench. And y'all gonna play this crap again in 11 days when Daniel Penny go on trial.
The agency.
But here's the main thing, because we can actually go past qualified immunity, because this is the place where you've refused to answer both on Donald Trump's accountability and on the law enforcement that you love so dearly.
Right.
What we know is that he's seeking full immunity, like the same immunity he now has because of the Supreme Court, because of the
Angela, he don't have full immunity. And you're a lawyer and you know that. He don't have full immunity. But continue.
corruption of the Supreme Court. We have now gone beyond civil presidential immunity to criminal presidential immunity. He would like to give that same immunity to law enforcement. True or false?
Well, let's expand that a couple
True
things.
or false?
You can't ask a
True-
true or
because
false,
that- this
Angela,
is- this
because
is
you
a
got to
very
explain the
simple-
details. No, see, this is the
I
problem.
don't want you to explain the details, because when you
Why
explain
you
the
don't
details,
want people to
we end
hear
up
the
down the road and
details,
not with
Angela?
the
The
facts.
details are what the things that matter. You
What I
got to
would
explain the
like for you to
details,
do
or
is
then you just
answer
talk. You're
true or
just
false,
talking.
and then explain.
If you
Can
don't,
do that?
if you don't explain the details, then you're just talking.
Yeah, you don't want to say that because you know that it's not true. So
That
let's
is
just
not
move
true.
along.
You want a true or false statement?
Congressman,
Hold on.
I want to know if
I don't
you've
want to
ever
argue with you. I want to explain the
experienced racism in this
facts.
country.
Angela, I don't want to argue with you.
I would
want
like to
explain
know
the
if you've ever
facts.
experienced racism in this country, Congressman.
Yeah, actually, I have.
Okay. Do you believe America is a racist country?
No, I don't.
Okay, I believe.
Oh, there you go. There you go, family. He said it. That's the part. That's one of the parts I wanted you to hear. There you go. He said this country is not racist. He Tim Scott and Kamami. We have finally found the DC Trinity, not Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. We found the one setting in DC. America is not a racist country because he made it to Congress. He got arrested for weed and made it all the way to Congress. So it ain't racist. Okay, sir. All right. Yet you've seen racist incidents all over the country, but there ain't no racism, right? Okay. Your boy down there in DeSantis, even though now they try to kiss his ass over these hurricanes, he down there was being racist, but okay. Okay. Ain't no racism, right? You in Florida, Miami, chock full of racism, but ain't no racism, right? Okay. All right. You are a sitting representative from the state of Florida. I don't even have to go all the way back to Rosewood. And you gonna tell me America ain't racist? Sir, you from my city. You really about to tell me ain't no racism? NYPD? NYPD ain't racist. Oh, let me guess, because Giuliani cleaned up the city, right? That wasn't racist, right? That was for everybody, right? Ray Kelly, right? Okay. Ray Kelly. Oh my Lord. Bernard Carrick, anybody? What Trump did, that wasn't racist? You know, he was a private citizen. He ain't entitled to his opinion, but that didn't come off racist, right? Oh, what about them 4 cops that violated Abner Louima? The 4 cops that deleted Amadou Diallo on that dark street that night when he just pulled out his wallet. Sean Bell, anybody? Young Junior, that one racist? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Y'all come out here and say Kamami ain't doing enough to help the victims in North Carolina. I'm surprised y'all didn't say she was being racist on that. Oh, because she didn't help out black people. That's right. She didn't help out. If she had a video helping out black people and it went viral, as big as that statement she put out, then y'all would have said that was racist. Oh, hey, Byron. Come in, sir. What happened to Fearless Fun, sir? That wasn't racist? That wasn't racist, right? Y'all want to say you shouldn't do nothing for just a specific race, right? Uh-huh. But y'all gave him the C-19 bill. The young boy in Colorado who got deleted by the cops with the ketamine. That wasn't racist. What they were doing to the black farmers, that wasn't racist. The banks and black home appraisals, that's not racist. Y'all running around talking about everything woke. And we all know what woke means. But that's not racist. They be tripping themselves up with their own talking points. This is what I'm talking about. But all right, continue, Byron. I'm sure you're going to regale us some more.
Believe that that's true because you said in an op-ed on Fox News, as a Black conservative, I, like Senator Scott, agree, and our two lives and the lives of many Black men and women like us are living proof that America is indeed no longer a racist nation and by far the best place to reach your fullest potential. And so here's my question. You did, however, vote to support the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, along with every member of the House except for 3 Republicans. So I appreciate your bipartisanship here. And what I do know as well, because America is in fact a racist country, was founded on such principles. Black men were lynched by the carceral state last week. I'm sure you've heard of Marcellus Williams by now in Missouri, who was convicted by a nearly all-white jury, and Freddie Owens in South Carolina, who was executed despite his friend recanting testimony that Owens was not in fact there. This is the same state, by the way, that allowed for a firing squad as an execution option. Black people are about 7.5 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of murder in the United States than are white folks, and about 80% more likely to be innocent than others convicted of murder, according to a 2022 report by the National Registry of Exonerations. So please tell me how America is not a racist country.
First thing I would say is that our past is a dark one. It really is. We can't
is a
walk
dark
away
one.
from that.
Yeah.
We had whole laws that were subjugating Black people in the South of this nation
Uh-huh.
for decades after the Civil War. We can't walk away from that one.
Mhm.
I believe that in America, we have great people in this country, and we have some people, quite frankly, that even I can't stand. But they're the vast, vast, vast minority of people in our country. Most people just want to live in harmony and peace. That's what they really want. I think the important thing to acknowledge today is what's going to help Black people going forward. And what's going to help Black people moving forward is economic policy. It's actually wide open energy policy so we can be energy dominant.
How does that help Black people if you're not going to give them access to the contracts necessary to build such wealth? Because there's plenty of Black energy firms out there that y'all don't even sniff at. Oh, we know why though. Because if you went outside and said, okay, we awarded Black Afro energy consultants a $10 million government contract to help build up solar panels in Black neighborhoods, who gonna come outside on that? Who gonna come outside? Why didn't you give it to the white ones? Why didn't you give it to white power energy consultants? Why didn't you give it to Jackie Chan energy consultants? Why didn't you give it to the God Vishnu energy consultants? Maybe because their proposal was great. Maybe they were lacking something in the other proposals. See, now you're being divisive. Okay, so now we're being divisive when it comes to money. But I thought there was no racism. Okay. How'd that work for affirmative action? Not to get off topic. But fine, I'll stick on energy for now. I don't hear y'all getting mad at Robert F. Smith for dominating the cloud and the cloud sector, and that requires a lot of energy. Oh, it's because he's with the Playboy chick now, right? If he was still with the black woman, I think y'all would have said something. You maggots over there love to pick and choose when you want to highlight black folks. But then you want us to come over there and look at y'all and get away from the Democrats, but y'all won't come down here and actually have conversation. Byron Downs, I dare you to show up over here. You keep going on these safe platforms like Fox News and the Breakfast Club, which has already been, even by their own accounts, they've been displaced as a credible political outlet. I dare you to show up over here. I want you to tell me to my face, Jamaican to Jamaican, why the cousins shouldn't get reparations. Then I'm going to ask you, so your mama don't deserve reparations from Jamaica? Because if they get theirs, then you have a blueprint to go get yours. You got a blueprint to go get from your daddy's place in Panama. You get 2 checks. Your sons get 2 checks each. I think your little coon self would love to have 8 checks rolling up in your house just for being you. But we know why they won't do it. But go ahead, sir. Tell us more.
Again! It's yes, securing our southern border, because we have a situation right now.
That's
where,
racist.
yeah, there are more than 15 million illegal aliens in the country.
That's racist.
Where do
You're
they
calling them
reside?
illegal
Mostly in
aliens. That's
sanctuary.
racist. That's racist, sir. You're calling them illegal aliens. Aren't they migrants seeking asylum? I thought there was no racism.
Cities like New York. Where are they at? Sanctuary states like Illinois, like California. What's happening in those cities? Hospital systems are overrun. Why are they overrun? Because you have people in the country illegally who don't have resources, so they're going into the emergency room.
Where the hell are these emergency rooms being overrun? Huh? Emergency rooms are being overrun. Okay.
Well, what are they taking up? They're taking resources from poor people in our country, whether they're black,
poor
whether they're
people
Hispanic,
now.
whether they're white. That's wrong. What about education? We have a situation where in too many inner cities, kids are not reading at grade level, or they don't have math skills at grade level.
Whose fault is that? Sounds like that's a government problem, which you're a part of. What are you doing to rectify that?
How does that help them excel and achieve? I don't want to discount what Angela is saying. I don't. I acknowledge the issue of our nation, but we always are trying to strive to be the more perfect union. So in 2024, what are the economic policies? What are the national security policies? What are the border security policies that are gonna make our country thrive? So whether you black, Hispanic, or white, you could thrive.
Why?
And so I think it's
So then
important.
would you have to say that if it wasn't a racist country, whether you're black, white, or Hispanic, you could thrive?
No.
Are we thriving? Are members in your
I would
state,
argue
black
we're
folks
not.
in your
I would
state
argue we're not
thriving?
really thriving right now. This inflation, which by the way was brought to us by Kamala Harris, has really slowed down people from being able to excel.
By Kamala?
Yes.
The vice president.
Oh, Charlemagne.
It's still the president.
Charlemagne, listen, man. When Joe Biden wanted to do his American Rescue Plan, Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote in the United States Senate. She broke the tie that started this inflation that has hurt so many people in our country. Everybody listening to your show, it's not true?
First of all, it's the
you sure you want to go there?
tie-breaking vote.
You sure you want to go there?
Go outside, Congressman. When you go outside,
You sure you
want to
go there? Okay, let's go there.
You had it.
You got notes. You got notes, Angela, right?
That's fine. I have notes.
I'm gonna give it.
She was the tie-breaking vote. It had to get through the Senate before Biden signed it. What? Now that's the first thing he didn't lie on. But also, Republicans voted yes on that. Just like they voted on the infrastructure bill. That doesn't work. The CHIPS Act, which is not working. All these pieces of legislation y'all threw outside so you can give chum to your voters so they'll leave you alone for about a couple of months. Now it's coming back to bite you. And none of you have an explanation for it. Byron, I bet you if I look up the infrastructure bill, I bet you were A for it. I bet you I'll find that out. So by logic, the devastation that happened in North Carolina, parts of Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, parts of Texas, that's your fault as well. You and Kamami are tied to the hip. Two Jamaicans tied to the hip. Now get the dancing.
I'm gonna give it to Charlamagne. I'm gonna give it to Charlamagne.
Is that on every question I've asked,
because Angela,
for
hold on now.
For every infrastructure project in your community,
you can go to
should
third
go
page
out
just to
and
highlight a
thank
portion.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Congress that voted for the American Rescue Plan.
Angela,
that's what should be happening.
Larry Summers wrote an op-ed back in 2021. Larry Summers was the Treasury Secretary for Bill Clinton. He was an economic advisor to Barack Obama. He said that the American Rescue Plan that Joe Biden wanted, that Kamala Harris was a tie-breaking vote in the United States Senate, would create a massive inflation that we have not seen in a generation. Well, guess what? Larry Summers was correct. You know who also was correct, Angela? I was, because I was in the budget committee when they brought the bill. And I said in that committee, it's going to cause massive inflation. That's what happened. So the problem we have in our economy today is that prices have gone up massively. Wages adjusted for inflation is down. People's pocketbooks are hurting. But we have a presidential election in 40 days. So, and I'm gonna ask Envy this question. Envy, you're in the housing business as well. I know because I watch.
Don't say that.
No, I'm just asking them a question. Chill, Angela.
And number one, it's not 40 days. It's 29. The boy don't even know how long this election is. No, I'm sorry, 29 days. Well, I think they did this. When they do this? 6 days ago. Okay, so 35. So he was way off. But the point still stands, sir. That's all y'all's fault.
Listen to the show. I know you do a lot of business in housing. Would you hire somebody that broke up stuff in one of your houses to fix the other houses?
No.
Exactly. She broke the economy.
I'm not going to do this morning, Byron.
Why are you not going to do this, Angela? Because I'm bringing facts. Hold on now. So now I'm bringing facts and you don't want to do it no more? Come on now, Angela. That's not right. I'm bringing facts. I thought we were going to have a fact-based conversation. I want to have a fact-based conversation.
You wanted to bring up votes. And so let's talk about votes.
Go ahead.
You have a 96% voting record with Heritage Action.
Angela, I'm not running for president, but we can talk about
for those who are listening. Yeah. Heritage Action is a part of the Heritage Foundation, which is the architect of Project 2025, which we can talk about more later. Okay. You voted no on HR 8404, which would provide federal recognition and protection to interracial couples. And that actually is a law that would benefit you, Congressman, given your marriage. You voted no HR 6878 on requiring the Bureau of Prisons to provide incarcerated women with certain pregnancy-related care, including sexually transmitted infectious testing, contraception, appropriate housing, bedding, clothing, access to hydration, and restrooms. prenatal vitamins and other appropriate conditions of confinement, screening and care for high-risk pregnancy, substance use, and mental health support, including postpartum depression and prenatal education. The list goes on, and it would limit the use of solitary confinement for pregnant women. You voted no twice on the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which would have restored the protections originally enshrined in the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which I've heard you tout. You also voted no on HR 3233, which established the bipartisan commission to investigate the terrorist and insurrectionist attack on January 6th at the Capitol. So you want to talk about voting?
Sure.
Please explain why you would vote so clearly against the interests of people who look just like you and I.
So the first two bills you talk about, I'll actually have to go back and see it, because a lot of problems with some of these bills are all of the other things that get put into them, not just the things that you're talking about. Specific to the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, the reason why I did not vote for that bill is because that bill would reinstitute what's called pre-clearance. Right now, hold on. Man, Angela, you won't let me talk? Here we go. Here we go. Here we
Is
go.
that okay to say yes?
Okay, here we go. So check
Are
this
you
out.
okay?
Pre-clearance, right now, under federal law, really by Supreme Court precedent, is no longer the law of the land. The reason why that is because there's not been, over the last 30 years in elections, there's not been cases, or there's not been any specific cases around why you need pre-clearance in the first place, like was needed back in 1965, where you did have counties that were systematically discriminating against Black people. So they could not prove, the plaintiffs could not prove at any point in the last 30 years where you still needed pre-clearance. I live in a pre-clearance county. Collier County, Florida is a pre-clearance county. I've lived in Collier County for 23 years now, 23 years. There's never been an issue with me casting a vote in Collier County, Florida at any time over the last 23 years. And that's before I became an elected official. That's when I showed up down there working the Cracker Barrel, being a waiter and just figuring out how to make ends meet. And I could still cast my ballot. So every other protection under the Civil Rights Act of 1965 is still law today. What my Democratic colleagues want is they want national pre-clearance, so that if any jurisdiction, whether if they were a historically discriminatory jurisdiction or not, if they made a change in their procedure, like reshifting a precinct, deciding to shrink or expand precincts, that would actually have to go to the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department for approval before they can make those changes. Now, why is that not important today? More people are voting by mail. So you have a situation where local election jurisdictions are shrinking precincts or resizing precincts or putting two precincts together because they don't have the volume of people going to cast ballots in those precincts. You're now telling me that you have to now go to the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department to get approval to put two voting precincts together? That's why the John Lewis Act, and all due respect to John Lewis, great man, phenomenal career, but that's why that bill of putting pre-clearance in nationally, even in jurisdictions where there were no historical discrimination of Black people, is not necessary legislation. Those are the details.
This is on the other side of 747,000 voters being purged in North Carolina. This is on the other side. This pre-clearance provision was struck in Shelby County versus Holder, which is a super and has had a past of being super discriminatory. Since that, 100 laws have been put in place to make voting rights more restrictive for people of color for the last 10 years. So what you're saying is not factual.
So actually, it's very factual. And I remember when Georgia changed their voting law, it was Joe Biden who was down in Georgia talking about how this was not even Jim Crow, was whatever, I forget what he said, Jim Crow or whatever. Jim Crow 2.0.
You want to talk about Jim Crow as well?
But this is what Joe Biden said. Hold on, let's finish. Let me finish now. So this is what Joe Biden said back in 2022, I think is what he said. What happened with Georgia's new voting law that I would assume, I'm going to assume, Angela, I don't know for sure, I haven't seen what you said.
The world is constantly changing. It's up to you to decide how to respond.
Oh, hell no.
Protect our communities from State Farm. At Eating Walbro,
so the rap taste that moves you, scan you.
Georgia, record turnout.
Sorry about that. I didn't even know they were gonna put ads in that motherfucker.
That I would assume you would say is restrictive of Black people. In Georgia in 2022, there was record turnout of Black voters in the state of Georgia. Record turnout. I'm assuming in 2024, because those are the trends in the state of Georgia, you're going to have record turnout of Black voters in 2024. So you had Joe Biden use a terrible part of our past to try to move people emotionally in a negative response to what Georgia was doing. What we have seen in the outcome is that Georgia has actually had more voting inclusion of people of color and of black people in that state.
The new Georgia laws make voter intimidation easier.
How?
What?
How?
Yeah, I think the most important thing here,
Huh? What are you?
Byron, that I think we'll overwhelmingly hear you say is, as a Black man in Florida, your argument is that it's easier to vote today than it was in 2013 when the Supreme Court eviscerated the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which again, I've heard you tout. Your argument is that states don't need preclearance, that counties don't need preclearance,
No,
that there's been no discriminatory impact since Shelby County versus Holder, and that's why they should get rid of it. You brought up Jim Crow, and I'm glad you did, because you also have had something to say about Jim Crow, and I know that this, for whatever reason, has been unnecessarily tense, but I would love to invite you to clarify your remarks around Jim Crow so that you can at least get rid of that part of misinformation. It's clear that you do stand opposed to the Voting Rights Act, though, in 2024.
No, we were in Philadelphia. We were talking about just the rise of Black families again, and which is actually a great thing in our country. And really comparing that to what was happening under that time period, the Jim Crow era, where marriage rates in the Black family were very high. After that era, with Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, in part, that is the reason for the decrease in the marriage rate in Black families. And if you're going to have in order to have strong Black families, obviously you need the father in the home. You're starting to see that again in America. That's a great thing, because when fathers are at home helping to raise their kids and nurture their kids, it puts their kids in a better position to be able to be successful going forward. Like, my dad wasn't there when I grew up. It was really hard for my mom. My mom still lives in Brooklyn. She still lives here today. So I stand on her shoulders because she did so many things for me. She was mom, to quote her, she was mom and dad, and she did it all. But
Are you married to a Black woman?
No. But we also got to acknowledge that your kids standing on your shoulders is what propels them to be successful. Like, my sons are in position in part because my success, my wife's success, but then also because you had two parents in there living together, growing together, thriving together.
For Black people that's listening, because I did homework, and I like to see sometimes what Black people feel about congressmen, and a lot of Black people who I look at online and look at the comments don't feel like you're for them, whether it's you don't feel like this is a racist country.
You didn't let him answer the question, though.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Jim Crow question.
What was the question? Oh,
I was just letting him clarify. I think he's clarified. He was saying
I was just talking about, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Angela. I'm sorry.
I guess for Angela, what you should ask him is, like, for those who criticize those comments, what did they get wrong?
That's crazy. I would never say that. And never ever say that.
That's what I took from.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Angela. I'm sorry.
I guess for Angela, what you should ask him is, like, for those who criticize those comments, what did they get wrong?
I think what they got wrong is they think that I was trying to say that Jim Crow was this great era for Black people. That's crazy. I would never say that.
You literally said it. You literally said Black people were doing better under Jim Crow. You literally said it, sir.
Never ever say that.
That's what I took from it. Not just because of the way the narrative was spun. That's what I took from it.
And I think what the narrative happened was, in that room, it was all Black people, a handful of reporters. The Philadelphia
Why
Inquirer
would you
wrote the
bring
story.
it up?
The Philadelphia Inquirer actually wrote it accurately. What happened was that when it was the Biden campaign saw the story, and they came out with this tweet that made it seem like I was memorializing Jim Crow. That's crazy. So then Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, he went to the floor, gave a speech about it, and before you know it, this thing is going worldwide. So then I find myself in this position like, wait, hold up. My comms guy is telling me, hey, they're trying to hit you on your comments in Philadelphia. I'm like, over what? I was talking about Black families and the growth of Black families going forward in America, and that's a good thing. They said, no, they're saying you're memorializing Jim Crow. I was like, man, that's I was going to curse on the airways, but I was just
why didn't you clarify it in the room?
I mean, easy. Fuck Jim Crow. Nobody wants that.
There it is.
Listen, it's the problem, though. But what happens in politics is people will see a statement and then they want to emotionalize it. They want to sensationalize it to diminish your point of view and what you stand for and what you believe.
So you don't think people were going to be emotional when you said Jim Crow, Black people were doing better under Jim Crow? You need to fire your communications director. Like, I'm not even joking. It's great that you're arguing for black families, but sir, when you were presented with that Jim Crow question, you should have said, "Listen, that was a dark time in the history of America." That's all you had to say. And myself in Congress is trying to not get us back to that point. That's all you had to say. Nobody would have got at you. Them words came out of your mouth. Because you sit up there and say that the black family, when kids are in the black family, they do better. We agree with you on that. But then you say during Jim Crow, the black family was together and they did better. By logic, it sounds like you're saying Jim Crow was better for black people than it is today. And you had plenty of opportunity to clean that up in the room, and you didn't. You went past it. But all right, you got it. Continue.
Like, I believe in economic growth for everybody. I was in banking. Banking background is my career. So when I hear MV talk sometimes about access to capital, I know exactly what he's talking about, because current financial regulatory policy on Capitol Hill has only made the large banks bigger. They've massively decreased community banking in America. Well, if you're a young entrepreneur, young black entrepreneur, where are you going to go to get capital? From Citi, from Wells Fargo, from Chase, or from the community bank down the street? Well, that community bank is in your community. We have less community banking today in the United States than we had in 2009. The only difference, financial regulatory policy. Now, if I want to bring politics into it, that policy was Dodd-Frank, which was written by congressional Democrats. They passed it unanimously by themselves, and then President Barack Obama signed it into law. The impacts of that regulatory policy has seen a decrease in community banking in the United States. That is the facts. And what that also does, it helps to diminish access to capital for people who look like us, who don't have the credit background. They don't have the family backgrounds. They don't have the historical backgrounds to get that capital and to rise and succeed.
None of these other people did, and y'all give them all the money when they get over here. What are you talking about? That's another gripe coming out of black voices. You guys prioritize people coming straight off the plane or the boat and give them all this money to start up businesses. You give them too much capital in a low price point. And black folks that have histories here, family ties here, they're going through hoops just to be able to say they got approved for the loan, and then the rates aren't the same. Do you want to talk about those loans that you be giving immigrants with no interest on it? Do you want to talk about those? I'm talking about bank loans. I'm not even talking about community loans. I'm talking about bank loans. And the reason, you can blame Obama all you want. Y'all were in power for 4 years and you didn't think about one time to do that. I ain't heard Trump one time on that campaign say, you know what, let's do community banking in black areas. Let's make black areas thriving again. But all right. You got it. You're gonna tell us more, right? Go ahead. I know you got more, because you can't stop hearing yourself talk.
Want to change all that. That's what I believe.
What you were saying, you're saying black people don't like Maradona?
I was just gonna say
Yeah.
though, do you feel like you get it honest though with people not liking you because of all the other stuff sometimes that you told and you stand on and I just want to read this quote to make sure this is what you said because you're saying that they misquoted you or they took things. So you said during Jim Crow, more Black people were not just conservative, because Black people always been conservative minded, but more Black people voted conservatively. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Right, but like during that time, the parties were a lot different though, right?
Not totally. I think that's one of the things.
I was asking you a question. I know the answer to.
Bro,
I'm asking
the
you a
parties
question.
were
I know-
the parties were different. Oh my god, this guy is he? Never mind.
I just meant, but I'm asking you a question. I know the answer to, and I want you to.
I'm trying to answer her question.
I want you to answer your question though, like you know that I'm a person that can read.
Of course.
Okay, so
Of course.
during that
No,
time,
you just read it to me. I know you can read.
Yes, thank you. So during that time, the parties were different. So when you say something like this, and then people take what you say and put it in a context as to where the parties were at that time, and you can explain to the people where the parties were during Jim Crow and what the difference is between now and then, you understand why people headlined it and got upset the way that they did. Correct?
Well, a couple of things. Let's talk about the parties historically.
Yes, let's talk about it.
The Republican Party was the party of emancipation. It has always been the party that stood for the freedom of slaves and for civil rights. If you go back to the civil,
Good God, you mean the same party who Lincoln said he wouldn't free the slaves if he had the choice? That party, they always go back to the party of Lincoln. They always go back to that. Sir, the Republicans destroyed this country in the 70s. At the height of Black innovation and Black historic context. One of the many points in Black history. Nixon was at the helm and destroyed it. How many Black sitcoms mention Nixon and Eisenhower destroying the country? What are you talking about? Damn it. Oh, Lord. But they're different. So y'all cool when the Democrats destroy the country because you got a talking point, but when the Republicans do it, you're saying it's the Democrats who ain't letting them do what they want to do. Because we got to listen to them. All right. He confusing me with this babble, by the way.
I know what you just meant, but I'm asking you a question. I know the answer to, and I want you to.
I'm trying to answer her question.
I want you to answer your question.
Capital and to rise and succeed.
A lot different though, right?
Not totally. I think that's one of the things.
They were very I was asking you a question. I know the answer to, and got upset the way.
They're
when
not
the 64
different.
Act was going and before it went into law, the filibuster in the United States Senate was led by Democrat senators of the United States Senate. All those Democratic senators that filibustered the 1964 Civil Rights Act, they remained Democrat senators. They didn't switch to become Republican senators. Robert Byrd was a lawyer for the Klan. He was a Democrat senator. He was the dean of the Democratic Senate until the day he died. He didn't change parties. Now, I will acknowledge that Richard Nixon, in response to just political moves of that era, he started going into the South to trying to go find the conservative Democrat votes in the South. You call them Dixiecrats or whatever, to find conservative Democrat voters in the South in order to be able to, frankly, win the presidential election when he was running during that era. He did do that. Where I'm highly critical of the Republican Party, my colleagues will tell you, is that the Republican Party in the 60s really didn't even try to get Black votes, didn't try to court Black voters, didn't try to talk about Black issues.
And we're here 60 years later and you're doing the same damn thing.
Didn't try to engage Black people. And so
same damn thing we're going through right now.
So as I come along, my politics are about policy, not about personalities. I believe in policies that help.
Yeah, you're the personality trying to push the policy. They don't even get it, family. They don't get it. Yes, Robert Byrd, Eastland, and Whitney and Strom, they had ties to the KKK. We know this. But we're not going to act like Republicans did not have ties to the KKK. That's what we're not going to do. We've told you on this platform, they will change ideologies based on the issue. Y'all swear up and down that Democrats take black people for granted. Good, you have an in now. You won't even go come do the simple thing. Talk to black folks. Y'all going on Fox News, knowing black folk ain't gonna go up there and watch Fox News unless one of us on this platform in this sector is gonna play it for them. We not checking for you to go on Tim Pool, sir, to go talk about the black community. We damn sure am not gonna go sit up there and say this got to be must hear radio. Byron Donalds is going to go talk to Charlemagne. Negro. And you Negroes that think like him. It's funny that you tell us we don't know what we're talking about, yet when the conversations come up, it's always hilarious to hear that the same people that you dismiss are the same people that the streets are talking about. And when we say streets, I'm mostly talking about social media. The same people that you say are not the true voices of the black community. It's funny that when you ask them, yo, when you want to hear about politics or something, who do you go to? And they start rattling off all these black platforms. I always find that intriguing. And you congressmen and you political voices know that. I'm not saying all of them, but you political voices and congressmen and congresswomen know that. And you don't even make you say, you know what? Let me go down there and talk to him. Let me tell you something. Byron Downs, you will come here. You don't have to legitimize me. You don't have to. Even if you and I have a discussion and you leave and my numbers stay the same, I'm cool with that. I want the truth out of you. That's all I want. That's the only reason why I do what I do here. I want to bring the tabernacle of truth. And what you guys are really saying when you go outside and lie to the press. Again, that's why your boy don't want to come over here. Because I'm going to ask them questions that your white media class ain't going to ask him. That NABJ, they were fed questions. They're not going to ask him the real questions. They're going to ask him the mainstream questions. I'm going to ask him real questions because he's going to be sitting in front of black folks. And his answers, they ain't going to get mad at as much as the questions that I ask him. We don't care about what they doing. We care about what we doing. You the one that said the Jim Crow comment. You the one that said, I don't believe black folks should be getting reparations. You said that. As a sitting congressman, knowing that's a fight in Congress that the streets asked and went outside for. That's why, and shout out to her, Just Hilarious asked you that question, why people don't trust you. Because you can't sit here and say you're for Americans, but then actively stop something that is going to help a segment of Americans. How would we look if we say, listen, forget what happened to them folk out there in them hurricane areas. Black folks hurting. How do you think that's going to sound if we all did that in unison? How do you think that's going to sound? We'd be rightly vilified.
help people thrive and succeed. Where I tell people today in the Republican Party is you have black voters who are sitting back and saying, okay, now wait a minute. I've heard these speeches before. I've heard these talking points before, but nothing in my life is really changing. If you're trying to go court black voters, you actually have to go and engage black people.
Which you don't do.
And so that's why I go everywhere. I just don't do Fox News.
You a damn lie. Go ahead. Tell us where else you go.
I think people kind of know that about me.
I
where else you go?
I go everywhere. Why?
Where?
I'm trying to share my philosophies and my thoughts.
Where you go, sir? Where do you go? Tell us. Where do you go? It's scumbag about to tell us he go to meet the press. I wish Les Brown was still here. Go talk to Tavis Smiley then. Since you don't want to come out of the streets. I bet you sit down with Van Jones if he told you to give you a little cut of that $100 million he got. Come on, Byron. You can't even say it's money or your time because you found time to go to New York. You could do this in your office. Come see me. All you need is a laptop and a functioning camera. You can even not even have you don't even have to show yourself. Just have a working microphone. I'm sure the Capitol building has a media room you could use. Come answer some real questions.
I think political parties over time, they do adjust. But what's really happening today is that people are moving underneath the feet of the political parties. I think that's a good thing for the country.
So speaking of moving underneath the feet of the parties, you want to talk about policy. And so I want to just play quickly what you said about reparations.
Dr. King said at the tail end of his life, he said, we're going to Washington to get our check. You understand? So now, what is your position on reparations?
I'm sure you do.
I don't believe in reparations. I don't.
See? You don't believe in reparations. I'm looking up something. I'm gonna let this play. I want to see something. You don't believe in reparations. Go ahead.
So you don't believe in
Oh,
reparations?
wow. Why did y'all play the rest of the clip, man? I was on fire during that one. No.
Because, Byron, I think
I
it's
don't.
important for people to get your yays and nays. Just
You hear what he just said? I was on fire with that one. That's the second thing I wanted you to hear. He was on fire with that one. Uh-huh. Fire, huh? Fire. Fire. I'm curious though, Byron. When it came to that C-19 Hate Crimes Act, right? I just want to know something. I want to know how you voted. I want to know how you voted. I'm curious. What the hell? To suspend the rules and pass. Let's see. So you didn't want to suspend the rules so you could pass it. So it became law 117-13. A law that helps one electorate, one as a group. Took them 2 weeks to set this up. Now remember, we found out it was only 3 Republicans that said no. I'm gonna go look up those 3 names. I'm gonna let y'all finish listening to this. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Oh my God. No, they're not. No, this is what they do. This is why I understand why you guys keep talking about it. Keep talking about it. That is not what they do, sir. And you know that. You know that's not what it is. The government. The government. The government. Not the people. The government. Because y'all ain't talking like this when they're sending money overseas. Y'all weren't talking like that. I want you to hear this again. He said it.
Well, a couple things. One, that's why I wish you played the clip because I actually went to
Well, you can
all the
explain.
detail, but I will. A couple things is, all right, how many people in the United States today are actually descendants of slave owners? Forget descendants of slaves. Let's hold that to the side. Descendants of slave owners. You've had massive immigration into the United States over the last 150 years. So now you're going to say that people who immigrated to the United States, who are not descendants of slave owners, were not descendants of that trade, now they're going to be responsible for paying that out going forward. My mother's Jamaican. My father's Panamanian. You have a lot of black people in this country who are not.
Your father and your mother paid for Ukraine just like you did. Your mother and father are paying for Israel right now, like you are. I don't want to hear it. Your parents are sending money that they may getting taxed on. They sending it overseas and you ain't saying a word. I don't want to hear it. You may. I'm just gonna let it play.
Descendants of the American slave trade. So I already know off top, there's a lot of black people in America who aren't going to be able to get that kind of benefit or get reparations.
Well, most people who are for reparations, they feel like it should go to what they call foundational black Americans anyway.
And I agree with that point. I agree with that point. But I'm just saying, I'm just laying out, these are the reasons for why I'm no. So while I'm
So
now,
you do support reparations for what Leonard just deemed as, quote, foundational black Americans?
no, I don't.
No.
But I want to explain
Okay.
that. I want to explain that. And so that's why you have a lot of people saying, okay, well, then what are we going to do? And so my view is that what you do going forward is this why you have to have wholesale changes in economic, medical policy, et cetera, so that the ability to access various parts of our economy and grow in our economy work for everybody, including people in our country who are, quote unquote, foundationally black. Now, let me translate to what's happened in California. This is your state. In California, there was a push to
I'm
have
actually
the
from Washington State.
Oh, I'm sorry,
but
but I heard earlier you was in California, so that's why I'm saying it.
No problem.
So there was a bill in California for reparations. The California Assembly, which is massively Democrat, they didn't move that bill. They could have moved that bill. When they were asked why they weren't moving that bill, they tucked tail and turned and ran away. They didn't even have the guts to actually answer that question. So I'm here with y'all. I'll tell you why I'm a no. But you have Democrats who will say they're for something, but when it comes time to actually do it, they're not there for you. They say they run away. They don't answer the question, and to be blunt, like the current vice president, not answering a lot of questions.
But she did say that she's for reparations.
After she said she wasn't. So which one is it?
No, she never said she wasn't.
That's never happened.
That's the false narrative.
All right, that's fine. I'm gonna let.
I mean,
it go.
she was here when she said.
I'm gonna let you have it. I'm not gonna challenge.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna challenge.
But I guess the question is, Congressman, you say that you're not for reparations, then you go on to say that there are a lot of elected officials. We know that racism is a bipartisan problem, right? So on that, do you know who was the father of affirmative action?
No, that's a good question. Actually, I don't know the answer to that one.
The answer is a Republican by the name of Dr. Arthur Fletcher, who worked, you brought up Richard Nixon earlier. He worked with Richard Nixon, but I've noted that you are opposed to affirmative action. Again, another policy that would democratize access to all of the things that you've talked about today, including economic access for Black people. So on that,
what do you want Black people to have, Byron?
I want them to have everything. I want them to have access to everything that this nation can do when it's running.
Here we go.
How do
So
we
why,
do that?
why be against the legislation that provides that?
Yeah.
Because you have a situation now where the real question is, do you need affirmative action today? Not did you need affirmative action? The answer to that is 100% yes. You absolutely needed it. The question is in 2024, in 2028, in 2032, do you need that now? I would argue the thing you need more now is you got to have equality in terms of the level of academic attainment for young Black kids. What a young Black kid needs more now than anything today is to be able to read and write, read at grade level, write at grade level, do math at grade level, and frankly, and beyond. That's what they need today.
And you've been the same one like MAGA been saying that you need more resources. They're sending our resources overseas. So it kind of sounds like, yeah, resources might be something that you need to provide to the people. But all right, he got it.
You know, Byron, I don't disagree with you, but I just don't trust white supremacy that much.
Yeah, I don't think
I feel like you need
fair.
that type of legislation. I feel like you need those guardrails in place to make sure
Protect.
to protect, yes, and to make sure those type of things happen.
You coming out of Brooklyn, you don't like that doesn't register with you?
Of course,
Because you talked
it
about your
regis-
mom
it
having to
registers with
move
me
you to a private
100%.
school. So why now? Like, because
Right.
the kid that had to be moved out of that public school to a private school
Yeah.
because you said that you were being trapped in a failing school.
Yeah.
You know that those schools, a lot of them are still failing. So
Oh, I
why
know.
do you? But you think that if we get these things and we put these people in place that you are mentioning, that all of that would just change? Like, we know that it doesn't even work that fast,
Well,
even if people wanted to.
Let me put it this way, because Charlamagne, you brought up the point about you think that you need those to guard against white supremacy. Well, I would argue, is it white supremacy to lock kids in failing schools, to not give them an option to go to find an academic environment that suits their interests? I would argue that it would be white supremacy to basically move millions of people into our country illegally on purpose and have them overwhelm our systems. Here in New York City, the system is overwhelmed.
Why
We
do we
already
act
know
like
that.
that's just a one-party problem? Like, I feel like what's been
Oh
happening.
my
at the
God,
border has been
Charlamagne actually
happening under
said
so many
something?
different administrations.
not
So
like
has
this.
redlining has too.
No.
Redlining is
Hold
not
on,
just a
hold on,
one
full
side
stop.
thing.
Not like this. Not like this. Under Donald Trump, there were about 2.4 million people that came into the country illegally. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that number is easily 10 million. That's what they know of. It's probably more like 15 million because there's people that came through the border. It's not even the same thing. Hold on, I'm gonna make my point.
Okay, so it says that he vetoed the not vetoed, I'm sorry. He said no to the C-19 bill. I just had to confirm something else before I brought that to y'all. This motherfucker, I've been looking at some of his bills as well, and this motherfucker just be saying no on everything. But a lot of your 147 Republicans, 147 said yes. 62 of y'all said no. And 2 of y'all abstained. Why didn't you just abstain, sir, if you don't believe in it? But I bet you'd say yes if there was a bill in the House that said that all J6 people get exonerated. I bet you would.
I'm gonna make my point. We talked about financial regulatory policy, access to capital. I would argue it actually upholds the pillars of quote unquote white supremacy to not have free flowing access to capital in the United States. So if you're a black person trying to find a way to raise money for your business, it is harder for you because you just don't even have as many avenues to go to. But the policies I advocate for, the policies that conservatives advocate for, is actually loosening up the ability for kids to find a school of their choice, putting their parents at the head of the line, giving their parents the ability to make that purchasing decision.
Y'all could have done that already. You didn't want to do it.
Mom made a purchase decision for me when it was very hard for her to put the resources together. She was barely making ends meet to do that, but she loved me, did that for me. I think if you're going to fund public education, fund the parents' ability to make that decision so they can decide where their kids go. That's some of the policy, I think, Charlamagne, that gives all families, especially black families, black mothers, black fathers, the ability to have their kids go further in America than anything before.
And I don't think that I mean I'm not against that. I'm just also not against putting something in place that like make sure that when that fails, because it's so many people and it's already doing it right now.
You trust white people more than we do.
You know that, you know what I mean? It's just like, why not have something that comes in and says, okay, this kid from Brooklyn can get to go to that school because that mom didn't get that money. However, that kid is still smart and should be able to go to that school. Sure that when that fails, because it's so many people and it's already doing it right now.
You trust white people more than we do.
You know that, you know what I mean? It's just like, why not have something that comes in and says, okay, this kid from Brooklyn can get to go to that school because that mom didn't get that money. However, that kid is still smart and should be able to go to that school.
It's who I don't trust is I don't trust bureaucrats. And I don't trust politicians coming in here saying, I'm going
Nigga, is he serious? Okay. All right.
Let me tell you something, man. You see a thing named police, politician. Me not trust none of them boy, the road boy. Remember.
You don't trust bureaucrats, yet you're a bureaucrat, so that means you don't even trust yourself. You said the media took you out of context with the Jim Crow and the reparations comments, but you were on fire. But now you're telling us 10 minutes later you don't trust bureaucrats, yet you're part of the bureaucracy. Oh, God. There's another 30 minutes, but if it's boring after the first 5, I'm going to cut it off.
Going to invest blah, blah, blah billions, and it's going to do this. Then when you turn around later, there was no investment, or the agencies or the administrators don't know what the hell they're doing to invest that money anyway. I'd rather
try again, Byron. Try again. That would be legislation that would be laid out. You know exactly what they want. It's not that hard. They want cash payments. The other stuff after that, they can decide what they go. But their main thing is cash payments and an anti-hate bill for black people. Just like when Biden and them gave them $50 million in a task force. Outside of you and the other 61 and the 3 that didn't vote, y'all didn't care where the money came from. Now, did you? You wanted to help out an electorate. Okay. All they've been doing for the last, will be nice because we're talking about Congress. The last 35 years been telling you what they want. And y'all have ignored it or given them some BS bill that helps everybody. By the way, y'all could have showed beautiful faith if y'all would have let the Crown Act go federal, but you didn't do it because even y'all don't want black people to have some kind of leg up in negotiations. We know what that is. Because you know black people are very scrupulous and very cutthroat, like them white supremacists when it comes to negotiations. And they're not going to let you snow them.
give people those opportunities directly. I'd rather give people those resources directly.
That's what reparations is, you fool.
The rules are clear and understood by everybody so people can make decisions. Nothing's perfect. I grant you that. We are all imperfect people. So the institutions we put up are going to be imperfect. There's going to be failures along the way. But centralizing everything in Washington is an absolute goddamn disaster.
What do you say to people that? What do you say to people that say that?
I'm sorry, Lord. I didn't mean to do that.
People that say that
Lord.
look like you don't support people that look like you, and that you're against. I mean,
you don't.
Racism doesn't agree or doesn't. It's not.
Unless they got a MAGA hat on.
A lot of things. So a lot of people don't feel like that you're actually for the people that you look like.
I'm for everybody.
No, you're not.
Not for everybody. People that you look like.
But I'm for them too. I'm 100%. 100%. I want people to thrive and succeed. Listen.
When last time you been to Brooklyn, sir?
To be blunt with you, I'm not even supposed to be here. We talked a little bit about my past, the things that I've done wrong, etc. The fact that I'm in this position now really is by the grace of God. That's why I'm sorry, God. I didn't mean to make that an earlier statement, but it's by the grace of God. So what I want is for people to thrive and succeed. But what I also know, when you're talking about economics, when you're talking about public policy,
we also know that your ex-wife said that you're a fraud.
Policy. The reality is you got to have it set up so everybody can thrive and succeed. In that vehicle, Black people can thrive and succeed.
How you ensure that everyone succeeds, Congressman, is to ensure that there's legislation in place to hold entities and folks accountable for that success. So this is a place where I believe we agree.
Angela, that's actually not true. That's actually not true.
Then I just disagree with you, but this is a place where I think we do agree. You cited the 64 Civil Rights Act. You talked about the 65 Voting Rights Act. We haven't talked about 68 Fair Housing Act, but I think that you would say that all of those things were helpful to Black folks, right?
Of course, 100% I would.
That's legislation.
Okay. So if it is legislation, to Leonard's point, thank you, Leonard. And so then I think we should just touch briefly on Project 2025, which would erode most of that progress, right? So we've already noted your overwhelming voting record with the Heritage Foundation-based agenda. Project 2025 is a joint proposal of the Heritage Foundation, and 25 of the 30 chapters written in Project 2025 were written by former Trump staffers. At least 140 people who worked for Donald Trump worked on Project 2025. And we know that it is treacherous for the Black community because it seeks to dismantle affirmative action, weaken
But it already did it though, so they didn't have to do all that, but they already did it.
discrimination laws, reduce the enforcement powers of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which, by the way, Clarence Thomas used to work there, reduce Medicaid funding, eliminate programs aimed at addressing health disparities, includes measures to increase policing and incarceration, reduce funding for community-based alternatives, and eliminate initiatives aimed at addressing systemic racism in the justice system. As a Black man, how are you not concerned with the agenda that is proposed by Project 2025?
To be blunt, I'm not concerned about it because nobody in the Trump campaign or Donald Trump himself is even talking about it. To be
Here, damn man, I'm done. So he just gonna sit up there and lie. The man said, "I'm not endorsing it." Dan said in a few weeks later, "There's some stuff in there that I like." What the fuck? Boy, Trump could pay him, boy. Okay. Oh my God. There you go. There's the link. It's not sneaky. This guy he's great. He's a hell of a politician. Now I see why Javon Price said he gonna be he could run for president in 28. He could see him being president. I said, wait, what? You vote for that man for president, you need your head examined. He can't even stand on what he said.
I'm tired of these Negroes, man.
He's not a Negro. He's a tether.
Well, yeah, tether. It's so much stuff. Where do I begin with this dude? You sit up here and talked about there's no. I don't think America is not a racist country, yet you experience racism.
But he got to where he is by the grace of God.
The hell that got to do anything? Excuse me.
God cures all. Don't y'all know this?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, they say God in his 7 days, God created racism, but he gave you the opportunity to fight it.
Oh my God.
Remember, these are the same folks who say no racism, but the book that they follow clearly got racism in it. And we need to get back to that. But they're going to tell us there was no racism back then, right? So the Pharaoh was just taking out Hebrews just because, right? Say less. Say less. Okay.
There's a reason for your actions. Like, damn, do they think?
No, they're just talking because they don't expect you to pick up on what they're saying because they think we're the idiot class. Notice when he goes on them white shows and CNN, he go talk to Abby Phillip and that, we don't hear none of this. We hear clear, concise answers. He get over here. He try to talk hood.
You ain't hood. Even though, never mind.
No, we give him a pass. He from Crown Heights.
Well, Kara said ain't nothing but Jewish people over there now.
Now, yeah, because they threw all the black people out after that. I told you, Al Sharpton was the reason why Crown Heights looked like the way it does.
Damn.
Because this stupid ass went out there without all the information, and he damn near set off a riot. And it gave them folk all the ammunition needed to kick all the colored people out. And he set up the gentrification of Crown Heights.
Oh my God.
He should have stayed his fat ass in Harlem.
Yeah. And then he want to talk about his district. Dude, your district is mostly majority white. What are you talking about?
Let's see, that's what they want. That's what I'm talking about. He ain't never mind.
No, you know we going there today. Fuck it, go there.
He already told you he don't like black people. He said it.
We know you don't. But my thing is this: why are you talking about the black family when you don't even have a black family? You can't talk about
because it's an easy talking point. for them folk, for white supremacy.
I understand that, kid, but you don't have a black family.
They don't need to know that though. That's the
Everybody
point.
Everybody knows though. He got an
No, but
Instagram.
here's the thing. He ain't got a black family. He don't need to have a white family. He don't have to have a mixed family. He got an American family.
That don't mean shit to me.
No, I understand that, but that's the point I'm trying to make.
I understand.
When they be talking about black folk and family, they're trying to segregate us out of the American society. Like the black family ain't part of the American society.
We've never been a part of the American society, kid.
Correct. But they want you in there. Now you see how confusing I just sounded?
Yeah.
That's what they want you to be. Confused.
I'm not confused. I already know that.
I know you're not confused, but the majority of folk, they want
they want
just like that.
society. They want society because they only want the white family as
now you get it.
Yeah, I already know.
If I don't teach y'all nothing else on here, that's how the politicians are. They will confuse you.
All they want is the white family to be the face of
Exactly.
America.
Because why? Because they can send the white family outside as the representative of America.
But the white family ain't as attacked like it used to be though.
But they could still sell it.
Yeah, I know. And ain't just black women out here divorcing their husbands.
Ain't even a divorce. All you gotta do is put up the picture. What is a foreigner gonna pick when you put a picture of a black family and a white family, same aesthetic all the way around? All you're doing is changing the participant. Which one they gonna pick?
They're gonna pick the white one.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how they want to be treated.
Mm-hmm. Or I'll even help you with this. Same aesthetic, right? Family, right? Thriving, right? But we'll give the black family the mansion. We'll give the white family a ranch. Which one they gonna pick?
The ranch.
There you go. Why?
Because they see white as the golden ticket.
There you go.
Because they feel like if you're black and you got all that other stuff, you done something wrong.
Uh-huh. Or you're a rapper.
Yeah.
Or an entertainer or an athlete.
But you ain't a businessman.
Mm-hmm. But here's the third one. Which one they gonna pick? Same aesthetic I just told you, but the black family put their flag there.
They're still the white family.
Okay, what if the white family puts their flag there? They're not American. Ooh, now you gotta think, right?
They might choose the black family, allegedly.
Depending on where they're from, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because
it's important to know they're from the soil. They're not some.
You see how you're still confused?
How you? Okay, yeah, you got back up. You got back all the way up because you did.
You see how you're confused, right?
Yeah, you confused me. Back up real big. Let's back up. Pause.
It doesn't matter how American you are. That man literally sat up there and said, "This is not a racist country," but you understand the racist dynamics in this country.
Right.
Okay. He came from the same racist dynamics.
In not Panama, but in Brooklyn, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. In Florida.
Pray for Florida because they about to get hit with a cat 5.
It'll be a 4 when it hits.
And still pray for them because Florida. Oof, they don't get hit.
Oh, they were running in Tampa today.
I bet they was running.
Oh, 75 was back the hell up.
Shoot, you get hit with 2 hurricanes in one season. Shit.
One season? You mean 1 week?
Oh,
well, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. I'm about to say 2 weeks. Shoot.
And I see what they're doing. They think they're slick. They trying to prop up DeSantis and make him look like the hero right now. They ain't slick.
They ain't slick. Cause a lot of folks don't even like him down there. It ain't just the black ones too.
No, I know, but now he get a second chance. It's the same thing they did with Bush.
I was say Giuliani, but never mind.
It's the same thing they did with Bush when he failed on Katrina, and they got the next one, and they said the federal response was a lot better.
Shoot, it had to be. Mm-hmm. What's going on?
Watch, you're gonna hear there's not that much damage in Tampa. You watch.
Yeah, because they saw what happened in Western North Carolina now.
Mm-hmm.
And he better not play, especially with them folks. Oh, he better not play with them.
He gone in 2 years, so he don't matter to him.
Yeah, it ain't gonna matter because he still ain't gonna be president.
He gonna run.
He gonna run, but he ain't gonna win.
It depends on who's running.
Who's the top 3 candidates in that party for 28? Him,
Vivek.
What about JD? if he wins the vice presidency.
Maybe.
And out of those three, who will win?
It would depend on how JD does. Because
Okay,
everybody gonna look at him with that border.
Oh yeah, for 4 years, yeah.
Everybody gonna look at him for that border. If he don't get that border right, he better not run.
What about the Satan? Well, they can't really say anything about the Satan.
No, this hurricane and how he cleans up, and then by April, that's gonna make or break his president aspiration.
I don't see Vivek being a viable option anyway. Even though
Doesn't matter, he's gonna run.
Yeah, I know he's gonna run, but he ain't gonna win. Of course he's gonna run, but they ain't gonna vote for him like that woman said in Idaho. I thought he was a terrorist. Didn't that woman say she thought he was a Muslim or something like that?
He thought he was Muslim, and your background.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband and I didn't trust you.
Told it right to his wife's face.
Mm-hmm. They told him to his face, but it is what it is. But I just hope y'all understand, family, how confused I just made y'all, and y'all heard that from me.
Yeah,
and I can't really move nothing. Imagine if I moved policy and I pulled what he just pulled. But that's who they voted for.
A bimbo.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's pretty much a damn bimbo. No, get tired of these damn politicians. I'm tired of all this damn mess.
Don't worry, it'll be done November 5th. Unless there's a runoff.
Please, no, God, we can't afford that.
Listen, if there's money in it, they'll do it.
I bet they would, and then everybody can be like, "Fuck it, we ain't coming out." Shoot, it shouldn't be no damn runoff. God, no, I don't. I saw
anything
signs
else?
outside. No, that's pretty much it, man. I know anybody else coming up, come on up. I'm landing my plane here.
Mm-hmm.
Good talking with you, sir.
Yes, sir. That was Wallow J. Yes, sir.
We got less than a month. That's all I can say. As for Byron, good guy. He made Ray Lewis look pro-black. I mean, I could not believe what I was hearing up there. I was like, bro, how could you just say the Tim Scott line on us and then talk around and then start talking about specific issues ailing the black community as if we just did it? Like we just magically conjured it up because of our negligence. Are you fucking kidding me? Sorry.
That's not very American.
I don't care. This is what they say about us all the time. When black people have a mind of their own that is against theirs, we not American. But when we think like them, we're free thinkers. The fuck are you talking about, free thinker? I've been thinking free for a long time. And I've been hindering that. He's talking about the education and reading them, like they don't read. I'm glad Angela at least said they redline education, because I was saying in the comment section, they do it here in Jersey City even. Man. You know what got me so angry right now? It's the fact that it reminds me the way he thinks is what's going on here in this city. We're facing $3,000 average on the rent, man. I'm about ready to choke the shit out of somebody. For what? And you want to talk about things are so good, we better off now. Like, you moving all the crime into our neighborhood. The guy running for governor, one of the guys running for governor is moving all the crime into the South District just to get us frustrated so we can sell to his folks. You know who them folks. And then I got to listen to somebody that looked like us on the radio, but they ain't for us. I'm tired of this. This is the politics these folks play all the time to getting good with a bunch of people who don't give a fuck about us. When are you going? Are you stacking your money? Is the wake up call that great? That I mean, the money you getting right now is so good that the wake up call is worth it. I ask that question to people that's listening. You think they know the wake up call is coming and they just worried about just the grift and how much money they can get?
Well, that's what they've been doing the last few years. It's over on the 6th, bro. I told you this.
My thing is that I hope that money worth it, because you can't come back, right?
They don't care. They're hoping. Here's the thing. They're hoping that even if the grift ends, their audience is going to still be there. I'm telling them they're going to start dwindling.
I know.
Them YouTube checks ain't gonna hit.
They haven't
like
been
they
hitting
used
the
to.
same. They
Well,
haven't.
they have it now, but it's going to get worse after it's over. Because I told you, if Command Me wins, none of them conservative channels better get up there and start complaining. Ain't nobody going to hear that. And if Trump wins, okay, great. You better praise that man for 4 years. Even when he doing bad, you better go out there and say something. They can't win. This is why it's beautiful. This is why I've said it and other people have said it. This is a reset.
I hope so, man. I really do.
I'm telling you, give it 6 months after this election, bro. I'm telling you, by next summer, them same voices that we were dealing with for a decade ain't gonna be there no more.
I hope it's like the Kendrick song, just watch the party die, because I'm sick of this shit.
Look,
I'm
and
seriously sick.
here's your first inclination that's happening. They're already starting to be tired of Joe Rogan.
What? For real?
Yeah. Oh, they start calling him quack and all that again.
Who calling him that?
White folk.
Oh shit.
His audience, they starting to turn on him.
Damn, they break their tools that look like them too? Jesus
Yeah, but see,
Christ.
he got the advantage that he ain't getting the money straight from them. He getting it from Spotify.
Mm-hmm. And people were talking crazy about NBRE, about the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess now people looking like, okay. I don't know. Me, I don't listen to Joe Rogan. I really don't. Like, even I mean, he hasn't even come up in my algorithm, to be
That's what
honest.
I mean. Nobody brings him up. When the last time I talked about Joe Rogan?
I don't know, man. Back
When I did the Terrence Howard piece.
Oh yeah,
and that
that's
was
right.
months ago.
Yeah, that's right.
I be watching some of them comments. They say his conversations ain't even engaging no more.
I don't find a lot of these people, these conservatives, engaging. Not because I don't believe in. I'm not a liberal or a conservative, really. I have conservative views. Who don't? But I really don't have a party that I associate with for the
You don't
more
need the
that
party though. You just need somebody to talk to you like a human being, and they don't.
they
Both
don't.
sides in their pundit class, all they do is talk down to you. Who gonna want to keep hearing that?
I'm sick of hearing it, man. I'm done. And it's always the class that got the complexion for the protection, always telling me shit. It's all in my mind. Yeah, it is. Oh, it's all in my mind. Oh, really? Now, like I told you before. One of my coworkers said I was telling him about the bank situation. He said they can't.
Yeah.
They can't do that. They wouldn't do that. They only not give black people bank loans because they got bad credit. I'm like, what the fuck you say to me?
You better go outside.
Did he? I was like, no, this motherfucker did not just say to me. And then again, I remember he's Italian, and he was raised by old school Italians. Oh my God, put them in the police force, and you see what happens.
Mm-hmm. But that's them.
You thought the Flatfoots was bad? Shit.
Wait till they come back with full immunity.
Yeah.
Now I'm telling y'all, family, in 11 days, you watch when Daniel Petty go in that courtroom for the first time. Watch. They're gonna be like, oh, this whole trial's a farce. Free that man. Okay.
I was having an argument with somebody on X before about this, and it happened to be a biracial dude. I was like, of course. It had to be a self-help saying, how could Daniel Penny go to be tried for that, and Jordan McWilliams or Jordan Williams gets off from that?
Because number one, Jordan Williams was doing that in self-defense.
Exactly my point. I've been trying to explain to him, and he was like, but he killed him. I'm like, he stabbed him once.
Exactly.
This dude didn't let go because he's
And
supposed
2 other
to.
people held him down
Exactly. Why aren't they being tried?
because they didn't kill him.
They helped this dude. They
I
prevented the
understand
dude
that,
from
but
fighting.
I understand that, but they're gonna say that they were just assisting. They didn't know that he was gonna kill him or
What?
he was gonna die.
They was assisting Dr. Kevorkian. Who? What?
No, but that's why I said what I said about the law. They pick and choose. This is why I said
I
that.
know, man. Cherry
Now you
pick.
see why I said that. They pick and choose.
I know, man. It's just, oh man. If he walk, I'm sorry.
He's not gonna walk.
He
I'm telling
better
you,
not.
he's not gonna walk.
I'm thinking Kathy Bates misery to his legs. He ain't
All the
walking.
prosecution got to do is say that man is military trained and he know people in the police force. He
That's what
knew
I
what would
told the
happen.
dude. That's what I told the dude online that I was having this debate with. I was like, he know better. He know how quick you can subdue somebody with a chokehold. You don't need to kill them.
He's not gonna do the time that we want him to do.
He one of them people that punt that throw hits and don't like getting hit back. That's the type of person I feel Daniel Penny is. Because if he wanted to smoke, he would have
He
like,
would have
yo,
squared up, which
he
is
would
what I
squared
said
up
when I
like,
did the
leave these
commentary.
people
He would have
alone,
squared
yo.
up on him.
Yo, leave these people alone. What you doing here? We trying to take the ride in peace. No, you didn't do that. You choked them from behind and didn't let go because you're a pussy.
Yeah, we remember Daniel Pantaleo. He's still trying to get his job back, but they
Wait,
let
that's the
Kizzy
one.
McAdams stay.
That's the one that used to chokehold, right?
That's the one on Eric Gardner. But they let Kizzy McAdams, who told him to go do it, they let her stay.
Oh, and speaking of stuff like that, Scorpion unit leader, she still got her job?
Who?
The one that led the Scorpion unit down Georgia. I mean, down where
No, she got fired.
All right, good. But these guys need to go to jail. All
No,
of
well,
them.
I think she resigned. Whatever.
Of course, they always like to do it. Just like the big, like the big forehead chick that was that was being passed around like a church plate.
You sure that's not Hawk Tour?
No, you know I'm talking about the cop. She said, "Oh yeah, that
I'm
officer."
surprised she ain't come out with a podcast yet.
I don't know if her head can fit in the whole damn frame.
We don't need to have her on
That
film.
forehead was huge.
Well, you know what I'm saying? That made it easier for the Bible. Never mind. I gotta go.
All right, man.
The gravity helped her when she was, hi, Miss Niecy.
Good evening, KG.
Good evening.
I am beyond sick and tired of this fuckery shit show.
No, hold on. No, Tori. We were talking about the Tennessee cop that knobbed off all them black cops. That's the one we was talking about. Go ahead, Miss Niecy.
I have to edit what I say because I won't jeopardize your platform.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm to the point. Anybody who is not foundational black, fuck them. That's how I feel. Fuck them all.
I understand. Look,
And what's happening?
Y'all got to question everybody. I understand.
I am to the point. If it ain't me and mine, I don't give a fuck. I'm just being real.
You know what's funny? I told my wife that earlier today. I said they don't give a damn about us. If they ain't close to you or your family, fuck them. Because they're not gonna care about you.
And this is my opinion on what's happening with the FEMA situation and the hurricanes, where all the areas that got badly hit. Did you not notice most of them were sundown towns?
But they won't tell you that because what is a sundown town?
you ain't white, you don't belong. I live in a sundown state, so I know.
Right. And remember that person that came in there on when I did that broadcast?
Yes.
And what they say? Uh-huh. I'm telling you, family, Chimney Rock, Boone, Asheville, they're going to turn those into 15-minute cities. You watch what I tell you. Give it
Well,
about 2 years.
this is what I say, and this is just my opinion. Reciprocity, karma, the great get back.
Yes, ma'am.
Good night.
Good night. I was Miss Nisi. You know she always good for one. But before we leave, family, because we know the agenda they pushing on folk. Byron, since y'all want to be outside, you and I are from the immigrant class. You wanna? I'm sure they're gonna emigrate over here. I'm sure. I could see them immigrating over here with this concept. We'll call it a concept.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern in.
Would like to see this concept they have over there in the BBC. Yes. Had to channel the Nigerian prince with no name. You'll love this.
You is a homosexual, Barry. I ain't no homosexual. I am a bisexual. They think they know me. Father of Donna and Maxine, husband of Carmel. What happened to us, Barry? 50 years, living a double life. You are a cheat, Barry, but not in the way that she think.
Hey, Jamaica. This is how they're looking at you. In England, they have a show called Mr. Chichi Man. Never mind. He's Antiguan. But you know they don't know the difference. They heard the accent from the island, and the first place they go and go is Jamaica. Until they do the research. All right. Last thing. Yes, they are racing donkeys. Them a race donkey. Byron, I feel with people them. The man have on shoes. Yes, sir. Him have on shoes. See there? Look on the white man. You see him? Look on the white man. Oh, I'm not white. I'm just light. Wonderful run. Look on the man's face right there, sir. Byron, you don't think reparations could do something with this in Jamaica and make them more money? Would be kind of nice to have them reparations down there since they want to race donkey down there. They have a nice little racetrack down there so they can infuse some money in there. Would be kind of nice, right? But you don't believe in reparations. So I'm sure you'd be in what's his name's face. I'm sure you'd have been in Reagan and Bush's face saying, why are you giving them Japanese money, right? So what have we learned today, family? Podcasters and streamers that ain't talking about nothing are just talking about nothing. But before we go, I want you to listen to this. I want you to hear this. Now, this is allegedly a pastor. And this pastor decided to talk about immigration. I wonder what the pastor boy said. Where is the pastor?
What you see being done to immigrants in this nation
Uh-huh.
is anti-Christ. It is antithetical. It is the exact opposite, help me, Lord, of what God told us to do as it pertains to immigrants. Leviticus 19, verse 33 and 34. When a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born.
Okay, go ahead.
Love them as yourself. For you were foreigners in Egypt. I am the Lord your God.
You mean Pharaoh, who didn't respect God and didn't I don't know who the hell this is. But Pharaoh didn't respect what God said in Leviticus and was taking out them Hebrews. Now you saying that the country should go back to the book and treat immigrants the same as the native born. How does that work, sir? Explain how we do that. Because then by that logic, then they should be like you. They should just all come over and be pastors and pay no tax. That's what we doing, Pastor. Go ahead, keep going.
Exodus chapter 22, verse 21. Do not mistreat or oppress a foreigner, for you were foreigners in Egypt.
Sir, they're talking about the Hebrews. And last I checked, I don't think the Hebrews mistreated people when they got their land. I don't think they did that. Unless you're about to go have that conversation about them folk. I don't think you want to go there. Not today.
Exodus chapter 23, verse 9. And do not oppress a foreigner. You yourselves know how it feels to be a foreigner because you were foreigners in Egypt.
Great. I hope you plan to say that to immigrants when they come up here and talk stuff about the people that were already there. Ooh, you didn't think about that. Now, did you, Pastor?
Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 18 and 19. He defends the cause of the fatherless and the widow and loves the foreigner residing among you. Give them food and clothing.
Right. That's God's job, not the human. Y'all not even interpreting what God said. God allowed them to come over here. He didn't tell them, you got to come over here. And I know what it said before. God gave people the choice to ignore them. God never said you had to help them. This is why you can't talk to Christians.
And you are to love those who are foreigners, for you yourselves were foreigners in Egypt. Numbers chapter 15, verse 15 and 16. The community is to have the same rules for you and for the foreigner residing among you.
Correct. You know what that means? That means if you off code, I don't care where you're from. You got to get called out. You got to be exorcised from the community. I don't give a damn if you came from a tropical background. I don't care if you came from oppression. You know what the stake is up here. You know when you come to this land, because everybody got the internet now, even though the rest of them be 20 years behind, but you know what's going on. If you come up here with the crap, you deserve the crap that you're going to get.
This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. You and the foreigner shall be the same before the Lord.
Because that's your child. God, pastor, that is God's child. He don't discriminate. But he also knows man is prone to, quote unquote, be discriminate because they're different. There's only one universal law. You're supposed to love God. He even told you, you help your neighbor when you can. You ain't supposed to do it 24/7.
The same laws and regulations will apply both to you and to the foreigner residing amongst you.
How many of them you got living in your house, pastor?
Jeremiah chapter 7, verses 5 and 7. If you really change your ways and your actions and deal with each other justly, if you do not oppress the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow, and do
Says, or the pastor can't even read.
not shed innocent blood, then I will let you live in this place.
And black people ain't knocking out immigrants. Funny how that worked. Oh, pastor, you don't believe me? Okay. We ain't the ones knocking off immigrants, are we? No. The cousins ain't the one doing it, right? No. Who's knocking off immigrants? Yeah. White supremacists, right? Yes. And what is one of the prevailing thoughts you've heard white supremacists say in regards to political times, especially the last 8 years? If Donald Trump or Joe Biden win, I'm leaving. Who ran during C-19? White folk. They went down to them foreign lands like Mexico, and they were welcomed with open arms until they became the oppressor. But I bet you they went up there with this on their chest, talking about you can't oppress me because I'm a foreigner. That's what it says in God's book. Okay. Go ahead, Pastor.
Malachi 3 and 5. So I will come put you on trial.
How do you forget the 2, Pastor?
Will be quick to testify against those who defraud laborers of their wages, who oppress the widows and the fatherless, and deprive the foreigners among you of justice. But do not fear me, says the Lord Almighty. And y'all, that's just the Old Testament. Let's go to the New Testament. Matthew 25, verse 35. This is the Lord speaking. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in.
That was the Lord that did that, not humans. You just said it.
Hebrews chapter 13, verse 2. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it.
That's fine.
I like the King James version. You entertain angels unaware. It is so clear that if you can't see it, you either do not know the word of God or you know the word of God and don't care.
No, we know the word of God, but we know we're also not going to bring it down to the mortal level because everybody's translated it to fit their narrative. Y'all don't want to have that real conversation with that book. Because if you really want to have that conversation with that book, Pastor, the first thing you would have been talking about as a black man is why are all his people suffering? His chosen people, we all know who that is. They're being oppressed by foreigners. I'm leaving. Hopefully you learned something. If you did, I done my job. If not, I'll try to be better next time. If I start the preaching in here, this is going to be another hour and y'all want to hear me because it's Monday. Y'all got to get ready for work tomorrow. And so do I. I got to go cook something too. So what have we learned? In 29 days, this is all over. Pray for Florida. Pray for Southern Georgia. Antithesis, may you not see any damage down there. Because you're down there in Valdosta. But I see y'all what I see y'all unless something happens that we need to talk about. So y'all take care, stay safe, and you know what to do when the agents of chaos kind of mess up your existence.
Wait around. Yep. Start, yeet, and get out.
Time's up. But did we have a good time here? Hello?
At the end of the day got to end.
Get your money up, not your funny up. Big fucking move.
That's it.